Yeah, she's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran off her medication. She's over at the safe haven. Detective 12, we'll check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 1 started to show us.
Also still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know. First number. 10-4. Detective 12, check that one out.
6 Rumble, 2 1 started to show us.
Also still stands for talk? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know.
3-3, can you let a supervisor know that I have a case report for this first attack?
1830. The owner of the vehicle
So unfortunate. Good morning, good evening, everybody. It's sad when you see this photo here today, this morning. With everything that's going on with the case, Let me go ahead and flip this over. It's just sad when you see that photo. I don't know how long this show's going to be. This show's going to be from the heart. I'm really upset. I'm really upset about Dateline. I'm upset with Bloom. I'm upset with Dateline. I'm upset with Shane Bishop. I'm upset with Keith Morrison. Just when you're thinking, I was going to go live last night and talk about it, but I was just really upset because when it comes to all this stuff that's being leaked, it's really unfortunate what's happening. Everybody's discussing the individuals that are alive and involved in the trial when it comes to when it comes to just the totality of everything, and then the victims aren't even being discussed. Oh, you know what? I forgot. We need to turn this on. The victims aren't even being discussed. And those are the ones that are most affected by what Dateline, Keith Morrison, Howard Bloom, Shane Bishop, what they're all doing, Dateline, what they're all doing to these victims, and rightfully so. Listen, you're innocent until proven guilty. The person that is on trial is affected, of course. That's one thing of its own, but just the justice for the victims, and what could potentially happen when it comes to the trial. The defense wants a delay. I mean, and then there's this book that's coming out just a couple weeks before the trial starts. You just had the Dateline episode drop. You had Howard Bloom out there spewing a whole bunch of stuff before the Dateline episode. Dateline says on Drunk Turkey, or I'm sorry, Bloom says on Drunk Turkey, there was stuff that I was told that I'm glad I didn't let out. It goes back to the talk of when this first came out, and I was saying Think about it from the beginning. Think about it from the beginning. Think about, and I even bring up Papa Roger. Everybody wants to compare it to BK. I'm sorry. To me, it was law enforcement. I've said it from back then. Then all of a sudden, News Nation started getting the details. You know what I'm saying? Sources close, Banfield. Sources close. Remember all the stuff that was being spewed out there, all the stuff that ended up not being true, all the stuff Ashley Banfield even said they were burned? This has been stuff from the beginning that has been put out from law enforcement and or prosecution. You know, and it's one thing to do it before the court hearing starts. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to do before the court hearing starts. Once the court hearing starts, hey, okay, some seepage is going to come out, right? But man, when you're getting this close and everything has been going so smooth when it comes to the process, the deadlines, the pace. You know what I'm saying? It's all been just this roaring train. And then all of a sudden, Bloom throws out some caps on the railroad tracks. You know those little caps that they put on the railroad tracks? Bloom comes out putting a bunch of caps on the railroad tracks, and then that Dateline train comes roaring through. And all of a sudden, the train derails right before trial. When it comes to stuff that we do, I see Busby in there, I see Caddy, I see Narc Divers. Shout out to y'all. When it comes to all of us, when it comes to the journalism, even myself, when it comes to the journalism that we do, it doesn't matter. And that's why a lot of us aren't first. Because it doesn't matter when it comes to the clicks and the views. There's plenty of stuff that all of us on our own have been told certain things that we don't even put out in the public. There's a lot of stuff that I know that I don't even put out in public with any of the cases that I work on and have worked on. There's stuff that I could have said long times ago and I never even did because to me it's not about that. And to see professionals, to see well accomplished professionals do what even us, little fish in that big ocean, would even consider doing. So I wake up this morning. All these thoughts rushing through my head. And I'm like, damn. This is just too much. So I don't know. It's like I've always thought. It's been law enforcement prosecution from the beginning. You see the type of evidence. There's a lot of people out there that are also getting the praise because they're singing the same tune. That's not what we're about. It doesn't matter. What matters is the justice for the victims, number one. And that's why we discuss the things that we do. That's why we shout out when we shout out, and that's why we call out when we call out. Because it's about one thing in mind. It has nothing to do with personal gain. It has nothing to do with personal achievement. It has nothing to do with that. Because the reason that we are here in the first place is to help the people with everything that we have, because we put ourselves in other people's shoes. We understand the other side. And it's also about doing it the right way. What a shame. What a shame when it comes to these well accomplished professionals that don't even think about the people that they should be thinking about in the first place. These beautiful souls right here. What are you doing? What's up, Angel? What are you doing? You weren't even thinking about these beautiful souls. What's up, Mishy girl? You weren't even thinking about them. So we're going to go through that. Like I said, it might be a long show. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do want to do is I want to go through everything with you guys. I want you to hear from their words, Keith Morrison, Howard Bloom. We'll even listen to some lawyers discuss the ramifications of what could be taking place. You know, when it comes to the discussion of how there was already things that could maybe derail the case already, and that's just from the investigation side. We've heard lawyers discuss that too. Even the lawyer has discussed about the trial having something getting tossed and dismissed and all this other stuff. And when this stuff happens, and then you got this book coming out, you already had a book by Bloom. You already know he's writing books. I told you right now that he's gonna have his own series out of it. Watch, he's gonna cash in. He even said it himself on Drunk Turkey Show. He's got a lot of stuff that he knows that he can't say, and I guarantee you, as soon as it comes out, he's going to be having that in a book. It's probably already written. He just has to wait to publish it because the information hasn't been put out there yet. But he's definitely cool with throwing a whole bunch of damning theories around and just say, "Oh, if you make a mistake, don't call him a liar." Yeah, we saw that. But you got Keith Morrison. He's even telling you how deep into the investigation they were and have been from the beginning. He told a couple people. You even got Howard Bloom and Keith Morrison shouting out Shane Bishop as being the one that was taking the information. Shane Bishop knows. That's why you see on the thumbnail the little speech bubble from Bloom and Keith Morrison. Oh, yeah. Shane Bishop knows who the leak is. Shane should be subpoenaed. Shane should be the one that has to answer to the judge. Because it was ultimately Shane. He's above Keith Morrison. He's above share, he was the one that chose to share the information with Bloom. Shane was the one that made the decision to go ahead and put that. You couldn't wait to put this documentary out. You couldn't wait. You couldn't just keep it to the interviews. Why? It's like when we went over it on Twitch for the live watch party when it was airing. We watched it live. You can watch it over on Twitch. The link is in the description. Unrestricted. We were watching it live, and I'm sitting there, wait a minute. How is Dateline more public than us? That's not how this works. It's a gag order. How did they get this video? How did they get this information about descriptions with Ethan and such, right? It's been the same person from the beginning. That's why I said Papa Roger was that first law enforcement push of information. Let's make it shocking. No, this is how it went. This is how it went. Then you got, okay, I can only do so much on the chat boards. Now let's reach out to Ashley Banfield. Let's give her some info. All of a sudden it starts spiraling all over. Dateline, they've been there from the beginning. Why Shane Bishop? Because listen, when you are a journalist, and that's what we are, and you come across some information that is only meant for certain eyes and certain ears, you keep your mouth fucking shut. Because this can happen. Why were you not thinking about these victims, Shane Bishop? What do you think these families are going through now when they have, oh gosh. I mean, you see the shows. There's a lot of shows out there, people pissed off. Oh my gosh, the continuance. Ugh. It's like, you just don't understand what this does from a legal perspective. And that's okay. Because if you understood what is going on from a legal perspective, this is very dangerous. And if you truly are about the victim's justice, then I don't understand why nobody isn't upset like this. I really don't. Because I've always said, hey, we may come to trial and I see the evidence and I'm like, damn, dude did it. I'm not going to sit there and go, yeah, I've said this from this long and I'm not. No, it's about the justice for the victim. And if I see the damn evidence and I'm like, damn, okay. Because right now, I'm sorry, I've had to question it the whole time. But if I'm seeing the evidence and it okay. But this right here, this is lowball. This is dirty. This is deliberate. And it's like I said the last show that I did. I said, you know what? I bet you the person that it was, because I felt it was somebody's job, and I've said it from then. It was somebody's job to put information out there, to just keep putting it out there. And what their job was to keep pushing it out there until they got a hurdle thrown up in front of them. Right? Whenever it was, hey man, just keep putting that info as long as you can. You know you're going to be the fall guy. Dude knows, or lady knows, they were going to be the fall guy from the very beginning. It's your job. Look, you're going to be the fall guy. It's your job to put out the information, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same person that's dealing with the Brady Giglio. Hello? Same person as the Brady Giglio? They already fucked shit up. Guess what? You already fucked shit up. You already fucked shit up. So you know what we're going to do? You're just going to be the fall person. You're going to be the one that puts out this information. Because remember, I told you that I think they first found out about somebody in their investigation that had previously fucked up in early December, when we broke down all those little mini video press conference appearances that they did, Chief Frau. Early December is when I think when they did the switch. Yeah, we're switching them out for the holidays. What, bro? What? I'm going to explain that in a second, Moto. Check this out. And thank you. I'll get to that here in a second because I'm going to explain why. So when you're somebody's like, okay, shit, I'm going to be the fall guy or fall person, whatever. I already fucked shit up. I'm going to be the one that puts information out there as long as I can until whenever that is. Shit, I might get stopped in December 2023. I might get stopped in July of 2023. Hell, baby, I might be able to keep going until the trial starts. And guess what happened? When the Dateline episode came out, and I said this on my show back then, when the Dateline episode came out, that was the final. I made it to the finish line for the person that was putting out the information. They made it through the finish line without having to be stopped from any hurdles throughout this whole time. Because once the Dateline episode came out, guess what? My job was done. I made it, mama. I made it, mama. They were able to this whole time. Now, I want to say contribution call out to Modo. Thank you for the $5 super chat. This is why they would want to sabotage their own case. Because when you're looking at the information and all of it, listen, this isn't the only case that we've covered. This isn't the only case that us as a community is dug into. This isn't. When we're looking at all of the other information that is displayed, that is given, that is documented, that is investigated, we're seeing so much more. That's why we see so many questions when it comes to what we've gotten in this part of where we're at in this process. This is why. How many times have you heard of defense attorneys going, listen, I'm still asking for supplemental requests for discovery? Contribution call out Tammy. Thank you so much for being a member for 10 months. Love that photo too. So when you're thinking about the stuff that we've gotten compared to the other cases, and that's why we question what we question. So when the person they made it to the finish line once the Dateline episode came out, because they were the same person that gave and had been working with Dateline this whole time. You'll hear it from Keith Morrison's words himself, working with Dateline this whole time. The same person from the beginning that has been pushing out information. Their job was to do that. They made it together. They did it. He was able to, they were able to funnel it to chat boards and flood it on social media and flood it everywhere. Now, when it came to the Dateline episode, do you not think that Shane Bishop had to get the okay from the person that was giving him the information to put the episode out there? Let's think about it long and hard. Of course he did. Why? Because his career is on the line. You don't think that law enforcement that is giving a news organization that major information and they go public, you don't think that they could ruin their career? Because we're not just talking regular law enforcement. Think about it. You don't think that certain things can happen to Shane Bishop? Shane Bishop had to get the okay. That's why it was the finish line for the person that was giving out the information from the very beginning. Now, the prosecution, this is where they benefit with something like this happening, and this is why they would want to sabotage their own case. Because, like I said a minute ago, when you're looking at the information compared to other cases and all the stuff that we're questioning, why isn't there more? Why, right? Why isn't there more? We ask those questions because of experience with other cases. So then when we're looking at it, we're going, I listen, I got to wait till trial to see did he really go by there 23 times, or was he just crossing the border 23 times? We need to see it. There's a lot of speculation either way. That's why we have to wait to trial. But the thing is guess what happens to all the information that gets put out from these leaked sourcing to these organizations and these individuals? Guess what happens? It gets tossed out, right? It would get tossed out, right? Well, look, guys, this is what could happen. Oh, shit, something bad happens to the trial. Koberger is getting charged, oh, shit, it's not going to happen. He's not going to get charged. Sorry, guys, we had some rogue officer that was putting out information. And trust us, if you would have been able to see the CAS data, if you would have been able to see all the stuff that got tossed out, then you would have seen how guilty Brian Koberger is. But unfortunately, all you get is little teeny snippets of what we've been getting this whole time. We don't see the homework in the long run. See what I'm saying? So then prosecution can go, well, look, guys, just like they have before, just like the other cases, if you look up Latah County and you look up their prosecution and you go through their different cases, when it comes to cases where they're charging people with humongous felonies, multiple felonies, and they have the same kind of where's the homework evidence, and it gets tossed, you will see they literally go, well, sorry, we had all the evidence. We're sorry that the jury doesn't feel the same way. We're not going to go look for the person that really committed the crime. Go look it up. It happened. That's why I think that they don't really care. And they might have even been okay with letting the information get out the way it's been getting out from the beginning and from the whole time, and allowing this person that they can make a patsy as a rogue agent that is going to say, yeah, I'm the one that said everything, but nobody told me to do it. So then the evidence doesn't get shown in trial. So then when Brian Koberger gets found not guilty, they can go, sorry, guys, sorry, family, sorry, victim. If we were able to show the evidence that would have been able to be allowed, then you would have seen how guilty he was, because we've been telling you from the beginning, families. We've been telling you from the beginning, public. We have so much. Just wait till trial. Except now they get to prolong that excuse. Listen, we had, not we have. We had so much. Unfortunately, it just didn't make it to trial. That's why I feel that the prosecution was cool. Now, that's just my feeling. That's just my vibe. That's just my theory. That's just my tiles flipping that go all matched together. And to me, that's what it's been saying from the beginning. The stuff that I've been saying from the beginning as time has gone on through this case. Oh man, it seems like this. Oh man, it seems like this. Now you're putting all those Legos together, and now all of a sudden you see what every little piece that you were put together has built. And that's what this has shown me. It's so unfortunate. And that's why I wake up this morning and I'm like, damn, these poor victims. That's why I'm doing a last minute show today. Middle of the day, I'm like, I can't even hold this in any longer. I got to talk about this. They have destroyed it from the first day, Joker. When I showed you guys the drone video of the DNA dirty gloves, that's before they even walked into the crime scene. Before they even walked into the crime scene, they fucked up. It's so unfortunate, man. And then now you're talking about a delay. Now you got the judge. You know what? Subpoena Shane. Subpoena Shane. You make judge. You know what I'm saying? This is as much as judge is a hard ass, and he's a hard ass. But as much as judge is a hard ass, at least he is always thinking about other people, and you can tell. And that's what's important. And so make Shane Bishop answer to the judge. Shane Bishop, answer in face in front of the judge. Because this isn't about you, Shane. This is not about you. Unfortunately, this is the position that you put yourself in. Because ultimately, look, there's people that come to people, even myself, with information. And there's a way to go about it. And if somebody came to you, Shane, with some information, and you allowed the green light to take place when it comes to this, then yes, you should have to answer. Yes. Because you're the one that chose this outcome of what's taking place now. You could have easily said, look, I got information. I know it's not out there yet. Because if you've been in the investigation from the beginning, you're obviously following the case. Have some interns watch the shit for you if you don't have time, bro. But you know what? You're the one that knew certain information, certain videos, certain pictures were not out there. They weren't in any of these court documents. There's plenty of people that have been FOIAing the shit out of stuff, not getting anything. You're the one that made the okay. You're the one that made the okay. So yeah, you need to be the one that stands in front of the judge and answers. Because I know the judge is going to be not only about the prosecution, the defense, also the jury, and also the victims and the families and everybody. I know that. You can tell. This is so crazy. How long, Koberger's been sitting in jail for how long? Guilty or not? Listen, guilty or not, because that means it's been how long for the families to get justice, right? A long time. And we're so close. We're so close. And this stuff takes place over the last month, starting with Bloom and his little dynamite caps that he's putting on the railroad track for the Dateline train. And shame on the other people out here on these social networks that are allowing this stuff to continue. It's just as bad. It's just as bad. It's so unfortunate. And that's exactly right, Sea Dog. Who knows? I'm listen. When you got 23 times, 23 times. Okay, I want to see the homework. Listen, I've already seen the Amazon click data and how it's not even you clicking. You know what I'm saying? I don't need some fancy word to paint a certain narrative. I want the actual homework. I want to see when you carried the one. I want to see the division. I want to see the equation. I want to see it all. Because this is somebody's life that we're talking about. Yes, it's unfortunate that 4 other people lost their lives. Isn't it not more unfortunate if somebody else loses theirs too? And the person that really did commit the crime is still out there, that potentially is going to take more. I mean, come on, let's think about it. That's not algebra. That's general math. Oh, man. I know there's a lot of you out there feeling the same way, too. You know, Gabby Abby, I do feel that Gabby Abby asked, do we ever believe the Dateline? I do believe it was real. I do. When you look at when you listen, when we're talking about um, the DJ academic and the guy with the 2 haircuts. I never understood that either. And then the girl that was talking about the creepy but yet respectful, gentlemanly text message from a guy instead of some sexualistic, misogynistic message. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when it comes to that, it was like, I mean, listen, when you're painting a picture with those statements and those witness accounts, you're trying to make a Picasso painting with watercolors. It's not going to work. It's not. You need some thickness to your story in order for it to be, to look like Picasso. So when you're talking about the video, when you're talking about the statements about Ethan being carved, when you're talking about different things of the case that hasn't even been put out there in public documents, I believe it's real. I believe it's real. I believe that stuff. I believe that car was driving around. But listen, is that the car that committed the crime? No. That's why I'm going to be doing a show here. I'm probably tonight. I'm getting a notification ready. The Dodge Dart and the green Elantra. We're just members only on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, it's a membership on Twitch is a sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free sub every month. You can literally watch it over there on Twitch. If you can't be a member on YouTube, you can just use your Amazon Prime free sub and sub me up on Twitch, because Twitch is going to be subs only and YouTube's going to be members only. And I'm going to be looking for both cars, the green Elantra and the Dodge Dart, in all my footage. So when it comes to the footage that they were showing on Dateline, yeah, it's a car that was. Listen, if you were able to commit that crime and you drove around like a dumbass like that, listen, you ain't committing the crime the way that you committed the crime if that's how you're showing up. Because if you're that damn nervous showing up to go commit the crime and you're driving around like that enough to do a 3-point turn on the T section of King and Queen, well, then you're dumb enough to leave your own, not a sheath. You're dumb enough to leave a sock. You're dumb enough to leave your own blood on the floor. You're dumb enough to leave a trail of how you got in and how you left. You're dumb enough. You know what I'm saying? The evidence would be like, no doubt, right? More than Long Island serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, it would be more than a slam dunk. That'd be like a NBA Jam slam dunk where you're flying in the air, you hear the helicopter and the ball's on fire. Like that kind of shit. It's so unfortunate. That's not what you got. So that the footage, yeah, it's real, but is it the person? No. The only footage that matters is somebody when they're leaving the crime scene. That's why I've said it only matters when it comes to the photo of them leaving. That's the one that matters, and that's the one that's not an Elantra. It's not. We've already broke it down plenty of times. It's not it. It's not even the same car. But when it comes to the details of the crime, yeah, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. That was real shit. Does think about it. The whole part about Ethan being carved and all the other little tidbits. Does it is that, everything else is suggestive, just like me and Yoli were talking about the last live. Everything is suggestive of the stuff that they were saying, except for certain key details of the crime. And does that have Koberger's name on it? Those details? No. The only thing that has his name on it is the sheet. So yeah, those details, I really feel like they were told. Like I said, the person from the beginning, where it was their job to put out the information and try and make it to the finish line, which was this Dateline episode. This other book that's coming out a couple weeks before, like I said, this person was putting out tentacles everywhere because they wanted to make sure that they succeeded. The longer that they got to do it, think about how long it's been. 2.5 years. This person has been able to put out info, and their tentacles and their web has gotten so humongous. That's why you got people writing books and Dateline doing episodes. And there's probably, and I wouldn't doubt it, I would guarantee it, that there's other people out there that have the same information from the same person, and I guarantee that they're doing what we're doing when it comes to information that doesn't need to be put out there. They're doing it the right way. I guarantee it. There's people out there that have probably already written their book, but you don't even know their name and you haven't even heard a peep because they're doing it the right way. See? But the point of this person, that it was their job from the beginning to put out this information, was to find the people that would go, pss, 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 pss. They got to do it for 2.5 years, and they got to sit there and run free, and nobody was even stopping them. They made it. They made it. And like I said, the prosecution don't care. That's why you hear this stuff about the prosecution being connected to the leak. because they want it. They don't want the lack of information, the lack of homework, to be the reason why Brian Koberger gets off. Because then they can't gaslight the victims. They can't gaslight the community when he does get off. They can't. The only way that the prosecution and the law enforcement can gaslight the community is if they don't have to ultimately show what they've been saying this whole time has been there. We just haven't seen it. And a lot of it we won't until supposed trial. Oh. Well, this little intro speech lasted a hell of a lot longer than what I anticipated, but like I said, I don't know how long this show's going to go. I just needed to say some shit from the heart. But we need to watch these. I'm going to show you some different videos. I'm going to show you some different videos, and you're going to hear from their own words when it comes to how much they know, when it comes to how much they are keeping secret, when it comes to the ultimate person that's above them that they shout out so graciously, the person that needs to be the one that answers to the judge face to face, because this is about the victims, the truth, and the justice. And I feel so bad. I feel so bad for all the people that are involved, especially the victims. I feel bad for the judge. I feel really bad for the judge because, you know, we had Judge John Judge before. The dude couldn't make a fucking decision for 3 weeks on if he wanted jelly on his toast. Then we got Judge Hippler. Judge Hippler, let's keep this thing. It was a well-oiled machine. I feel bad for Judge Hippler. And then think about just, like, how long is this trial going to get delayed? You know what I'm saying? Right, gummies, Busby. Judge Hippler probably needs to go to Floyd's. Judge John Judge should go down there and be like, hey, Hip, come over here for a second, man. Because seriously, I feel bad for Judge Hippler. I really do. Like, I understand why he's so pissed. Think about what this, you know what I mean? Think about what this can do to the trial. Yeah, I mean, there's a delay. We've already talked delay. You know, we had Yoli on our last show. Think about what this is going to do to the trial. That's what I was even bringing up. What is this going to do to the trial? Not only delay, but think about evidence that might get tossed. It's just like when Dateline was doing it live and we're doing the show, and I'm like, look, these obviously ain't going to be witnesses. These obviously ain't going to be witnesses in the trial because they're telling their story to Dateline. They're not going to be witnesses. Their credibility is now, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. That's how you know those people's stories it was just suggestive BS. Because you're listening to their stories, there was no evidentiary value. None, if for any of them. It was just suggestive. They're not going to introduce that into the trial. But when it comes to the stuff that was put out, real evidence, that all of a sudden can get tossed. What can get tossed, people? Details of the victims and their injuries? Oh, wow. Really? That's pretty damn important when it comes to the case, right? When it comes to the K bar, right? You see what I'm saying? When it comes to the victim's injuries, certain details, it's got to be tossed. Oh, don't. Sorry, we had the evidence that would have shown the details it was a K bar, but it got tossed. Or you're talking about the video of the car driving around that they were showing. Could it get tossed? And then all of a sudden, guess what? Well, we had the video to show everybody that it was Koberger. Oh yeah, Busby. If you research how they do it up there in Latah County when it comes to their charges and shit, it's like I've said from the beginning, they expected Koberger. There's plenty of people that have been charged and convicted up there in Latah County where they didn't have somebody like Ann Taylor sticking up for him. Okay. Hey, just take a plea. That's what they were expecting Koberger to do, to just take the plea. Listen, we got you. You might as well just take that plea. Unfortunately, a lot of other people before Brian Koberger up there in Latah County took a plea, even though the evidence was just like what we're seeing right now. Seriously, they throw a whole bunch of charges, and it's different cases. They throw a whole bunch of charges, and they just hope that they take that plea, and most times than not, they do, because they don't have somebody like Ann Taylor. They don't have somebody like Ann Taylor, where Brian Koberger is still in the custody of Pennsylvania law enforcement, hasn't even stepped foot on Idaho, and she's the one shutting down the cleaning crew at 11:22 the same morning that he was arrested. They didn't have Ann Taylor. They had somebody else that's going, hey, listen, you might want to take this plea deal. You ain't got no other choice. You see it? You see what I'm saying? Sea Dog shout out contribution, call out $20 with the crystal ball. I mean, it's all about the vibes, man. I mean, just thank you guys again. I appreciate you very much. What? Hold on 1 second. It didn't do it. Here we go. Yeah, man, that's what they were expecting, Busby. Yep. It's unfortunate. So it's like, yeah, this is why I think that they were cool with it. All right. So I'm going to go into let me see here. I'm going to go into some stuff from Kevin Fixler. Shout out to Kevin Fixler. Listen, if you want to, this is even before it hits YouTube airwaves. Kevin Fixler is the dude that drops the bombs about the Idaho 4 case every single minute of the day. You want to know where people on this platform get their information for the bombs? Kevin Fixler, I'm telling you. That's why I shout him out so much. Because literally, when I'm doing my work, I don't have to be the first one to put out a 10-minute video. I just wait until we talk about it on the live stream. But as I'm doing my work, and in the background, like I do, I see the stuff pop up. Even the mods even see the stuff pop up. And we're like, yep, there we go. And then all of a sudden, 20, 30 minutes later, bam, 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 bam. It's like, go to Kevin Fixler, man. Shout out Kevin big time. Because the dude, I'm telling you, he's first with all the breaking information. I'm going to share that with you guys real quick now. There's an article I'm going to read from him, and then he's talking about the stuff when it comes to Dateline's episode. Then I'm going to play a Scott Reich video when it comes to what could potentially happen when it comes to what Dateline did, what Bloom did, the new book that's going to be coming out a couple weeks before the crime. You saw the document that dropped, from the defense when it comes to a delay. So, and then we're going to go in through certain clips of Howard Bloom and Keith Morrison discussing their information, what they know, how much they know, how long they've known it, who to thank. You know what I'm saying? So, because I can tell you everything that I can tell you in the intro when it comes to how I feel and where I'm coming from in my soul, based off of the stuff that I've already heard. And maybe you didn't hear it. And so I think it's only right for you to be able to hear it with your own words of the stuff that they were saying when it comes to, this particular topic. So let me get this. This is on Twitter. Kevin Fixler is on Twitter. Let me see here. And trust me, Twitter, it doesn't matter what case you're covering. It doesn't matter what news you're looking for. I'm telling you, Twitter is always, as somebody that gets their information when it comes to breaking news and when it comes to updates right away, seriously, it's always on Twitter. So if you don't have Twitter, I suggest you make some room for it, because seriously, that's where it's at. Or X, What's up, Cherry? All right, let me switch to this 1 second. Let me see here. I'm still messing with these scenes. Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me shrink me down, son. There we go. It is, right, Sarah? Shout out to Sarah too. She's always dropping the documents on Twitter. Let me get Sarah's link here. Hold on. Because seriously, she drops documents like a queen. Hold on. Let me share her link first. There it is, right there. All right, here, let's share her real quick. There we go. If you're not, no problem, Sarah. You do a wonderful job over there on Twitter. You have for a long time. Hold on 1 second. Let me display this. If you're on Twitter, definitely, I'm telling you, Twitter X is where it's at. When it comes to the breaking news, that's where we all get it. Trust me. And she does a tremendous job on I know the bots. Yeah, that's why you just don't pay attention to the bullshit. You just do your thing and keep going. But Sarah, she does a wonderful job dropping all the latest documents, takes screenshots for them. I know sometimes The Idaho 4 docket has issues with people and they can't see the documents and stuff. I'm telling you, you go to Sarah, she drops them right away. If they take them off the page, I've gone back to Sarah's Twitter to get the documents that weren't showing up no more. Trust me, go follow her over there and make sure your notification bells are turned on for all these individuals. See, I got a check mark for Sarah D. Irish over there on Twitter. All right, let's go back to this. And thank you again, Sarah. Let me see. And hold on one second. Jacqueline Keeley with the Euro 199 super sticker. Hold on. Game over, it says. Thank you so much for the contribution. I appreciate it. Okay. So we're going to go into this. This is stuff from Kevin Fixler. All right. Let me share his link real quick as we're going through this. That way I have it up there. Definitely, I'm telling you. The dude's awesome. The dude is awesome. Definitely go follow him over on Twitter. Latest updates before anywhere on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere. Trust me. It's right here. All right, so we're going to go to this. He was discussing how the judge ordered a probe into the information leak. Now, when he was on Courtroom Confidential a week or two ago, that's when I was in the chat bringing up the question. It was kind of interesting because you'll see people in the chat talking to me like I didn't know what I was talking about when I was bringing up the question, why did Dateline leak information that is under a gag order? Right? Why is Dateline leaking information that is under a gag order? Well, if Dateline got it, it's not under the gag order. Or you got the Dateline's got so much money and so many sources, and I'm like, okay, people. I mean, I don't know. I'm just putting two and two together here, and I'm sitting here asking a legitimate question. It was funny, but then you hear Kevin Fixler. We're going to listen to Scott Reich. They're even talking about it. Listen to all the stuff that's going on the YouTube waves over the last couple of days. It's all about all of a sudden gag orders violated. Come on. He does a wonderful job. This is why I shout out Kevin Fixler. Not only he's number one when it comes to get the information out there, but he is also number one when it comes to journalism with integrity. Because he's not about the views and the clicks either. It's about the doing the information the right way, going about it the right way, and discussing it the right way too. There's a lot of people that want to sing that same song because, man, that's a really fast rowboat that they're on. But it's the tortoise and the hare. It's about doing it the right way. All right, we're going to check this out. Then we're going to dig into their own words. But here's Kevin Fixler here.
The judge overseeing the Idaho quadruple murder case demanding answers. He says a gag order was likely violated after sensitive information was leaked and aired on NBC's Dateline program. And he is now considering appointing a special prosecutor to look into it all. Kevin Fixler is an investigative reporter from the Idaho Statesman and has been following this case literally since day one. Kevin, thanks for being with us. I want to play a little bit from that Dateline report with Keith Morrison, some of this information previously unknown that was aired in that program. All
right. Every time that I even play even if I show the freaking video from Dateline, I'm getting demonetized on my shit. This whole fair use shit that Dateline is getting away with is a bunch of bullshit, man. So I might have to hold on one second. I'm gonna have to throw this up there real quick. Just give me 1 second. My gosh, hold on. If I got to mute it, I got to mute it.
4 weeks ago. Listen here.
All right, I got to mute it. They're showing the video of Kohberger, well, the white car, if you even want to say it's white, because who knows when it's showing up on video camera at night. All right, so they showed that real quick. Now let me, it's sad I have to do this. All right, now let me flip this over real quick. All right, we'll go back to this and we'll be able to turn it back up. I apologize. I'm tired of their bullshit now.
Could this leak possibly be?
Well, it's a great question, and it's one that the judge is trying to better understand. He announced in a hearing last week that he would be appointing 2 additional alternate jurors as a result of what happened.
Yep.
He didn't specifically cite Dateline, but then issued an order later that afternoon.
And Kevin Fixler is the one that broke that on Twitter. I'm telling y'all, the dude is the shit. And integrity. That's what this is about.
That clearly called out that specific episode, a 2-hour special that ran earlier this month. It included not only the video that you showed there, but also what could be construed as pretty incriminating information about Brian Kohberger. It was, according to Dateline, citing unnamed sources, including those close to the investigation. That's how they put it. Things like his Google searches and all sorts of other data directly, they say, from his cell phone, including photos and call logs and just his activities leading up to and immediately in the month following the homicides.
So Judge Hippler is, as you can imagine, pretty hot about this, considering he wanted a lot of this stuff kept under wraps so that the jury would be hearing it for the first time. Here's what he said. He said, quote, based on sensitive information not publicly circulated that was reported during recent Dateline TV program, it appears likely that someone currently or formerly associated with law enforcement or the prosecution team violated this court's.
Yes, that's coming from the judge. That's coming from the judge. So when it comes to my little theory and my little thing that I've been saying from the beginning, and now I'm just giving you extra Legos, and we're finally seeing what the Legos I've been saying all this time, and we finally got to the top of that Lego tree. Right there. And then when it comes to who and why, and when it comes to why the prosecution would even be cool with it, it's just like what I said. Gosh, I feel so sad for these victims. It's a heavy heart day today, that's for sure. For me, anyway. I wasn't even planning on doing a show this afternoon. We was going to talk tonight, but you know what? This shit is on my heart. I woke up with it. I couldn't take it no more. I said, yep. I'm not waiting. I didn't do my show last night because I didn't want to go off. I was... If you guys are just joining, check out the beginning of the show. I'm explaining it all. I just didn't go off. Well, maybe I did a teeny bit, but not really too much. But I would have last night because this shit right here, it just bugs the living hell out of me when we're thinking, gosh, when we're thinking of these 4 beautiful souls, man. You know? Because this is what it's about. It just pisses me off. I know it pisses you off too.
It's non-dissemination order. So he's accusing law enforcement or the prosecution. But you've been on this case for a long time. Do either one of those entities look like they're ready to give up information?
Well, and that is the question. Where did Dateline receive this information? I have been on this case since literally day one, and this was a surprise. A lot of this information that was released just 2.5 months before trial. So we're trying to better understand where that came from. Judge Hippler talked about the potential appointment of a special prosecutor and invited the defense to file to have that happen.
Yeah, Shane Bishop needs to show up face to face and answer to the judge. You're going to hear their own effing word. Oh, man, okay, now I'm getting really, okay. Let's just go back to the video. Ooh.
Which he would then assign, and then that person, assuming it happens, would have subpoena power through a magistrate judge. That would include the ability to require testimony under oath, and as Judge Hippler said, also to grant immunity.
Wow. So that's one issue pending in this case. Another one is the defense brought up, and you could expect the defense is probably going to do this, to say, oh, it wasn't Brian Koberger who did it. It was another person yet to be named.
They are already talking about the alternate suspect for a long time, bro. The intern files. Oh, we're going to... Trust me, Jennifer Coffindaffer's been talking a lot about a lot of different cases lately, and there's oh my gosh, the intern files at its finest. Just wait.
Named. Apparently, they've submitted something to the court under seal. Here's what you wrote about it. You said, Hippler warned the defense that it needed to provide two things by the end of next week, which would be this week: evidence rather than just allegations, and an argument to support the admissibility of its case. The judge said the defense's information was, quote, potentially fairly objectionable in terms of admissibility. I mean, the defense is trying to throw up smoke here, obviously to maybe confuse potential jurors or whatever, but it would seem to have little chance of success.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Judge Hippler did schedule a hearing for June that had not previously been daylighted. And he also required, as you noted from my reporting, as well as with my colleague Nicole Blanchard, that they need to basically bolster their arguments, including evidence. Now, a month ago, lead attorney for the defense, Ann Taylor, had said that through their discovery review, the materials that's been turned over by the state, they came across a tip, and that suggested a possible other suspect. Now, here in Idaho, in order to...
Trust me, Mishy girl, she's already done fucked up shit with Sebastian Rogers' case a long time ago, too. It's why I call it, Mishy girl, it's why I call them the intern files. Because whenever she speaks, it's like literally somebody just gave her a notepad and wrote down shit, and that's the facts. And I'm just sitting there going, do you not do your own homework? You're supposed to be, XLE here. I thought, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, some people are there. There's a reason she don't work there no more. You know what I'm saying? The sheep in the cotton balls, man. Dude, it's so... I know. They're the intern files. Listen, she did a show on Sebastian again, and I'm just like, dude. And the title was Clearing Up Some Things. And I'm like, dude, clearing up what? Right, Caddy? How do they get away with it? Shout out to StreamYard not covering the scrolling chat with the highlighted comments. I'm loving the new thing, and I had to tweak my my layovers and stuff for when it comes to this chat. So I hope you guys like it. I know usually I'm on the other side. I'm used to being on the other side, but now we're over here. I think it's really cool. So when a StreamYard allows me to move the whole comment display, then we'll go back over to the other side. But until then, we're going to roll with what we got. And I think it's a beautiful thing having the comments scrolling up there. Now, StreamYard, shout out to you. Thank you so much. Now, can you please add multiple screen shares so we can have different screen shares up at the same time? That would be beautiful. but thank you already.
To make that legal argument, you can't just say, as you noted, that it was just somebody else. They do proclaim that Brian Koberger repeatedly is innocent, but you do actually have to name the individual. That was filed last week under seal. And now Hippler has said, if you're going to try to make this argument before the jury at trial, you do have to provide some specifics, actual evidence, not just allegations about that it being somebody else other than Koberger.
And it still doesn't explain how Koberger's DNA allegedly got onto that knife sheath that was found at the scene. So we'll see where all this goes. Kevin.
All right, so we're going to switch to this article here real quick. Here's the link to Fixler's article. All right, there's that for you. So if you want to check out that article, there's the link on the screen. If you don't have live chat up, there's the link that you can go to for this article. All right, so let's get rid of these freaking pop-ups. That is one thing about the Statesman here. Okay, so this was from yesterday evening, okay? Koberger defense asks judge to delay Idaho murder trial case after case details leak. Oh, my Lord. Attorneys for Brian Koberger, the man that was charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students, asked the presiding judge to postpone the long-awaited murder trial this summer in Boise, citing disclosure of previously unreleased case details that may have violated the court's gag order earlier this month in an episode of NBC's Dateline. Led by attorney Ann Taylor, Koberger's public defense team filed Tuesday for the delay just 2 months before the scheduled start of jury selection in late July. Her client's capital murder trial is slated to begin August 11th. And I wouldn't be surprised if the person that gave Shane Bishop the green light to go ahead and air the episode waited until right before. I mean, the timing is very interesting, people, when it comes to how damning that Dateline episode was. Leaked information under gag, and then also right before jury selection was going to... Did you come across... Who didn't come across the Dateline episode? You see what I'm saying? It's like just too perfect timing. The defense requests in a 40-page brief that posted, and I'll go ahead and drop that link for you if you want the document. But also, I really suggest you go follow Sarah D. Irish over there on Twitter. Always dropping the documents over there. Here is the link. Whoops. No, that's not it. Hold on. Right here. There's the link for the 40-page document that they're referencing. That posted to a state court's website Wednesday afternoon came less than a week after 4th District Judge Stephen Hippler invited a formal request to consider appointing a special prosecutor to investigate the source of the Dateline information. The legal filing signed by Taylor referenced the need to protect Koberger's constitutional rights to a fair trial, including to provide enough time for the defense to review all outstanding investigation materials to prepare to defend their client effectively. While prompt administration of justice is important to both the state and Mr. Koberger, the constitutional guarantee of a fair trial outweighs modest delay, Taylor wrote. And because the majority of cases ending in the death penalty are later overturned for error, the public interest lies in ensuring a fair trial in the first instance. The defense is yet to file any request for the appointment of a special prosecutor to suss out potential sources of the leaks to Dateline. Hippler last week ordered the prosecution as well as the defense to preserve all documents and communications and to submit to him a list of anyone who has been involved in this case. Now it goes on with the details of the crime. I'm not going to repeat them over and over and over. A narrative of guilt regarding Koberger. Again, for the full article, here's the link for you. And definitely go sub up on Twitter. You'll get the latest breaking news, anything Idaho 4, from Kevin Fixler. Koberger's attorneys took particular aim at the Dateline episode in Tuesday's filing and pointed to a current and former member of law enforcement or the prosecution team as the likely source of the information. Judge Hippler agreed. The episode cited unnamed sources close to the investigation and included unreleased surveillance camera footage from a neighborhood home, as well as a variety of data purported to be directly from Koberger's cell phone, such as Google searches, photos, and call logs. That's a lot of stuff if it's tossed out of trial. That's a lot of stuff that's important, isn't it? When it comes to convicting Brian Koberger. The court's non-dissemination order, colloquially known as a gag order, prevents the defense and prosecution from speaking about the case publicly outside of court. Law enforcement is included under the restriction as agents of the prosecution. The leaked materials appear carefully curated to promote a narrative of guilt, Taylor wrote. Remember? Suggestive. I mean, it was filled with suggestive. It raises urgent and serious questions about the objectivity, judgment, and credibility of the individuals tasked with investigating and presenting the state's evidence, particularly those who may be called as witnesses. The identity of those involved, their motives, and any efforts to conceal their conduct could go directly to the heart of witness credibility and the integrity of the state's case. Exactly what I was saying earlier. Stuff that can be tossed that is very critical to the state's case. Sorry, it got tossed. We would have shown you. You would have seen. They also noted that a new book about the closely watched case, the third from a major publisher before trial begins, is scheduled for release in mid-July, timed to the current start time of the trial. The publisher boasts of unmatched access to the investigation, including interviews with local law enforcement, the filing read. Remember the person that was already going to be the scapegoat from the beginning? Yeah, that same unmatched access. Local law enforcement. Fry's early December 5-minute interview where he says, I'm switching up the team for the holidays, when you know what? You were 2 weeks after and 2 weeks before. Give me a break. You didn't switch it up for no holiday. You switched it up because you found out, for sure, somebody done effed up. That became your ultimate scapegoat, Fry. We know that, Fry. That became your ultimate scapegoat. Guess what? You wanted to retire, didn't you? You wanted to retire. Look what happens. When you retire, look at all the options that you have in a trial when you retire. Very interesting. And then somehow he leaves to go run for sheriff and gets his ass whooped in the election. Bro, you only leave the top spot of Moscow PD if you know for sure you got a good shot. You got your ass whooped in that election. The retirement was on purpose. That's why I called it early. He just didn't get to become an even topper cop. The publisher boasts of unmatched access to the investigation, including interviews with local law enforcement. The filing read, this suggests that the apparent Dateline leak was not the only violation of this court's non-dissemination order. Like I said, it's the same person that has been spreading out their tentacles and their web, and it became a humongous web. Hippler offered skepticism in response to Taylor's position at a hearing last month that her team remained overwhelmed by the amount of information turned over by the prosecution and discovery, and therefore might not be ready for trial. He suggests that the defense bring on additional paralegals to help sift through any potential evidence Taylor and her team had yet to review. It sounds like you would never know what you don't know, Hippler told her. Given what you told me, it's going to take 18 billion years to get through. Well, I don't think it'll take 18 billion years, Your Honor, Taylor responded. But the alleged information leaked to Dateline created a new avenue for the defense to bolster its pursuit of a postponement. The details released in that 2-hour special were a massive breach in the short window ahead of scheduled trial, said Boise-based criminal defense attorney Edwina Elcox. Now, there's not a lot of Idaho attorneys that have spoken out on this case from the very beginning. There's been a lot of Idaho attorneys have not said nothing either way. This is interesting that Edwina Elcox, which is an Idaho defense attorney, actually came out and said that, and it's true. That's why I said, how in the hell is Dateline more? How did they get this information and we don't? When there's people out there all the time dropping FOIAs. It's incredibly problematic that this happened, and it's not a neutral perspective. It's that Koberger did it, she said in a phone interview with the Statesman. I think if there's any reason Judge Hippler grants a continuous, it's this one. They have to get to the bottom of this. All right, so then it goes on to discuss the closed court hearing Wednesday. There's court hearings coming. It's all sealed. It's all sealed. But we are going to have this trial televised. So thanks to them for that. Now I'm going to switch back over to X. This is Brian Enton discussing the whole gag order violation and the leak when it comes to the trial. Are these two different videos? Hold on one second. Okay, they're the same video. All right, so we'll watch this one real quick. This is Brian Enton, and we're going to go into some more of this, discussing this, how important this is and how much of a bunch of BS it is that this is even taking place. It's so wrong.
Brian Koberger's defense team is trying to delay the trial. They just filed a 40-page motion citing all the reasons that they think the trial needs to be delayed and the reasons they say it cannot start at the beginning of August. What is most interesting to me is they are singling out the leak, the Dateline leak, and saying that that is one of the reasons that it would be unfair for the trial to begin in August. Let me read you part of what their new motion says. It says, on May 9th, 2025, just weeks before this capital trial is set to begin, Dateline NBC aired a 2-hour episode about this case titled The Terrible Night on King Road. The program includes details and materials, including video footage, cell phone records, and photographs of documents that are not publicly available through official channels. The show repeatedly emphasizes the non-public nature of this information, stating it was obtained from unnamed sources who are close to the investigation. Much of the investigative materials presented to Dateline were taken out of context and will not be admissible at trial. The leaked materials appear carefully curated to promote a narrative of guilt, the defense says. And the source of the leak is most likely someone currently or formerly associated with law enforcement or the prosecution team. If that is the case, it raises urgent and serious questions about the objectivity, judgment, and credibility of the individuals tasked with investigating, presenting the state's evidence. It also goes on to talk about James Patterson, the fact that James Patterson, the big author, has written a book about the murders that is set to come out 16 days before the trial, and the Koberger defense team seems to think that they may also have information in that book. that is a violation of the gag order. Remember, the judge has mentioned possibly getting a special prosecutor to look into the leaks. And now you've got the defense saying, okay, if you're going to investigate the leaks and we're going to try to figure out what's going on here, we need to delay the trial to figure out if there's an impact on who can testify and how things will move forward. So
yeah, and what evidence is going to be able to be allowed? I mean, we're talking a whole bunch. Here's Scott Reich. Love him, Crime Talk, even though, you know, we disagree a little bit about some stuff. This is Scott Reich. This is him discussing the whole leak stuff too. Listen to this.
Trouble. Ooh, I wouldn't want to be the person that leaked all that stuff to Dateline. Ooh, gonna get ugly. So the judge oversees.
Shane Bishop, you need to show up face to face to Judge Hippler. You need to answer to him, bro. You're the one that gave the green light. We're going to listen to these other interviews. We're going to listen to Keith Morrison. We're going to listen to Howard Bloom. We're going to listen to them talk about the evidence, who they've talked to, what they got, what they didn't tell you, and who gave them the green light. Right, Bishy girl. He needs to be subpoenaed in front of judge, show up, answer to his ass. Somebody needs to be accountable because you just, dude, you know better, man. You know what I'm saying? I run my own program in my own studio. That dude, hello, look at where he's at. And you don't know this? It's just like Bloom. It's just like Bloom. Coming up with lies about Ramsland. And then when he's, well, it doesn't, you don't call me a liar if I got something wrong. Shut the hell up, Bloom. You know better too. That's what I'm saying. This leak from the very beginning, the law enforcement leak from the very beginning, putting out all this information, was trying to find those people like Bloom and Keith Morrison and Shane Bishop and Dateline, because they knew, and some of these other YouTube shows, because they knew they're going to regurgitate this. I already know they're not going to do what they're supposed to. They're not going to do the journalistic right thing to do. The one that protects the victims. Justice. We just need to find him, Sarge. Well, that's your job, son. You got it, Sarge. And then, dude, found a whole bunch of fucking leaks. Oh, my gosh. And then, dude, Ann Taylor's right. Massive breach.
Seeing the Brian Kohberger upcoming quadruple murder trial, says he wants to identify anyone who may have violated the gag order by leaking information from the investigation to news organizations or anyone else not directly involved in the case. Now, the Judge Stephen Hippler, ordered prosecutors and defense attorneys on Wednesday to give him a list of everyone, including staff, law enforcement officers, as well as any defense consultants who might have had access to the previously unreported information about Brian Kohberger's internet search history and other details that were featured in the NBC Dateline episode. Yes. Ooh, violation of a protection order. You know what that could get you? Contempt. You know what that could mean? Going to jail. And then you got to do some explaining as to why you did it. Anyway, the judge said he would even be open to appointing a special prosecutor to track down the leak, which likely violated this gag order that has been in place since 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Now, obviously, Kohberger is the now former graduate student in criminal justice studies there in Washington State, who is charged with the stabbing death of 4 of the University of Idaho students: Ethan Chapin, Zana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez. Obviously, the 4 were all found dead back in their home in Moscow, Idaho in November 13th of 2022. Obviously, Koberger has entered a plea of not guilty, and he's entitled to that presumption of innocence. But the prosecutors have said that they intend to seek the death penalty, obviously, if Koberger is convicted. But anyway, Hitler wrote in court records, 3 orders today, in fact, that someone associated with law enforcement or the prosecution team likely violated the court's gag order, and that leak will make it potentially much more difficult and take longer to already get a jury in an already expensive and lengthy case.
Right, and tainted evidence. Tainted evidence. Guess what was tainted? Oh yeah, evidence from the very beginning. DNA dirty glove. Tainted evidence the whole time. Man. It shouldn't be okay for people to do this. It shouldn't. I don't understand why it's even taking place. You know what I mean?
You know what could happen if that drags on? Yeah, not only contempt, but maybe you have to pay the additional expenses. Gonna hurt. The judge also noted,
right, and it's already costing how many millions of dollars already that the taxpayers of Idaho are paying for. It's crazy.
But importantly, such violations potentially frustrate the ability to assure both sides receive a fair trial, and accordingly,
that's what I'm thinking, Paco. You look at all the evidence that was leaked, crucial evidence. I wouldn't be surprised, Paco. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I got this heavy heart today.
The court finds it imperative to attempt to see that the source of such leak is identified and held to account. So, like I said, Hitler has ordered everyone who has worked directly or indirectly on the case to keep all records of any communications that they've had with journalists or others outside of law enforcement about Brian Koberger and the investigations related to the killing. Now, it appears that Hitler had discussed the matter with the prosecutors and defense attorneys during the closed portion of Wednesday's pretrial hearing, but he also referenced the Dateline episode and the possible gag order violation during the open portions of the hearing as well. At one point, remarking that after the day the episode aired, he decided to impanel additional alternate jurors for this trial. Now, digital data and documents obtained by Dateline apparently tracked Koberger's movements before and after the 4 students were killed, as well as his browsing history, which was not previously known. So obviously somebody leaked it. I'm going to say more than likely, unless it's a double fake, it was somebody from the prosecution's team.
This is what so the people that are coming out here doing these shows like, oh my gosh, the defense is asking for a... It's like I said, you're not thinking about it in a legal aspect. You got professionals that are sitting here saying this. Some people are just, woo. You just, the people that you can lead to water, you just can't make them drink it. It's like, look, I'm trying to help you. What am I supposed to do with that? Well, here's the thing. If it starts over, Paco, think whenever something, think about an investigation starting over. How much evidence gets retained? How much does evidence degrade? How much does witness statements fade? All of these different things. That's why the first 48 hours is the most important. Because after those first 48 hours, things start to fade. Things start to degrade. Things start to disappear. You know? And so you see what's there already. It already looks faded. It already looks degraded. It already looks You know what I'm saying? You're looking at, to me anyway, in my opinion, I look at the evidence that has been out there compared to all these other different cases at this point where we're at in this process. And I'm just like, it already looks like the investigation was on its third go around with how degraded and you know what I mean? And so I feel like if it is started over, I really feel like that is just going to be, it's going to be worse than it is right now. And it's going to take 2 or 3 times as long. Yeah, that's, I explained, I think if you go to like the 25 minute, you go past the first 20 minutes or so, I get into why I feel like it was done intentionally. I kind of break it all down with how I feel like it was done intentionally. I really do. That's why I said, like him saying right now, this person's going to be in big trouble. Yeah, they're the fall guy. They knew they were the fall guy from the beginning. They were that Joker character that was out there running around firing like sprinklers and black cats and shit, running down the street, not getting caught, throwing black cats and sprinklers all over the place, running amok, just screaming, running down the road. Nobody stopped him. There's a bunch of people that looked out their window. There's a bunch of people that talked to the person, but there was nobody that stopped him. There's nobody that could stop him or them or her until, unless it was the people that were the ones that were allowing that to happen. And they didn't want to stop that person. They wanted that person to go as far as they could and create as big of a web as they could to get that stuff spread out. They already know they're going to be in trouble. They already know. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out publicly. They already crossed the finish line. They already got to the Dateline episode. They already hit the green light for Shane Bishop to go ahead and do it. That green light ultimately started with that rogue. So they already got to the finish line. The Dateline episode did what they needed. Yeah, they're a patsy. The Dateline episode did what they needed. They made it far. Listen, they made it farther than they even thought they would have. That's what I feel. They're probably sitting back having some beers, talking to their buddy going, damn, dude, I can't believe we made it this far. I can't believe that I was able to sit here and say all this shit for 2.5 years, bro. I was able to go around and just tell a whole bunch of people. I can't believe I did. Listen, I didn't think I was going to make it past July of 2024, bro. But I made it, man. Cheers, man. Cheers. Because the Dateline episode was the finish line. I wouldn't be surprised if the person comes out and publicly admits to it. Look, guys, I'm sorry. I was the person that, they already did the finish line. They already knew they're going to get in trouble. Come on. They already know that already. They're fucking law enforcement. They know that. They already know. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody comes out and says, yes, it was, I was on the case. I was on the case from the beginning. I got removed. And then they're going to be like, and then I got upset. And I just started telling everybody everything that I had learned. None of the other law enforcement know that I was saying anything. No, none of them knew. Even though he had to have the green light. None of them knew. It was just me. Because you know what's going to happen? I already knew I was going to get in trouble. I'm taking the fall for my brothers. Because I was already fucking up the case already. That's why I got removed. So I'm going to pay them back. And I'm going to help them out. And I'm going to take the fall for it. For honor. I'm not doing this because I chose to do it. I'm doing it because I'm the one that fucked up before this case. And I want to make it up to my fellow brothers. Yeah, they know they're going to get in trouble. This is crazy, man. What the hell? How are people still having these people on shows? You know what I'm saying? Jail time, Busby. Jail time. Somebody's gonna come out and publicly admit to it. Watch. You can mark it 5/22/25. And I said this on our last show a week ago. Somebody is going to come out publicly and admit to it because they were already the patsy from the beginning and they knew it. They knew it. They just didn't think they'd make it this far. Cheers, right, Dynamite? Cheers! We made it! Oh my gosh, I can't believe I made it past July of 2024, Billy. Damn, and we made it this far? Yeah. They're sitting back drinking beers right now.
Possibly law enforcement? Anyway, Hitler told the attorneys he expected them to file a formal request to have the matter investigated. Now, also last week, Hitler ruled that Kohberger's immediate family members will be allowed to attend the upcoming trial, even if they're not allowed to testify. Now, also, the big story yesterday was the alternate suspect, all right? And I was doing a lot of thinking about this as it relates to the alternate suspect since that order came out. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody understands the legal standard. And it's not an easy one for the defense to overcome. So let's just be clear about that. So in Idaho, the legal standard for admitting alternate suspect evidence, often referred to as other suspect or third-party perpetrator evidence, is governed by case law as well as the rules of evidence, particularly rules 401, 402, and 403, as well as relevant state precedent. Now, the defense must meet specific criteria to introduce evidence suggesting that another individual committed the crime, ensuring that such evidence is actually relevant, admissible, and not unduly prejudiced or just speculative. Now, the evidence must be relevant, meaning that it has a tendency to make a material fact, i.e. the identity of the perpetrator, more or less probable than it would be without the evidence. That's under 401. Now, Idaho courts require a direct connection between the alternate suspect and the crime. The evidence must do more than create a mere suspicion or speculation. It must point to the alternate suspect's actual involvement with some specificity. Now, the leading seminal case there in Idaho, based upon my research, is State v. Larson, and it established that evidence of another person's motives or opportunity to commit the crime is admissible if it directly connects the person to the crime charged. However, evidence that merely suggests someone could have committed the crime is completely insufficient. And then we have admissibility based upon the probable cause threshold. All right. So Idaho law places a significant burden on the defense when seeking to introduce the alternate suspect at trial. The defense must present the alternate suspect evidence to the judge in a special session prior to the trial and demonstrate probable cause. That's the same standard as for somebody to get charged. So basically, they're saying is you've got the wrong person. You need to charge this particular person, judge. Now, what is probable cause? Well, it's when would a reasonable person believe that a crime was committed and that that person may have had something to do with it. So pretty low standard, but still pretty significant. Now, like I said, the threshold requires more than just conjecture and vague speculation. And then if it meets the relevant standard and you get past the probable cause, then you still got to do a balancing test under Rules of Evidence 403, which allows the court to exclude evidence if it has some probative value, but it's substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, or can possibly even mislead the jury. So courts are very cautious about admitting alternate suspect evidence that could lead to basically a mini trial within a trial to try this other person. It's going to be rather interesting if the court allows that to take place. Now, I'm kind of thinking it's not going to happen, but we'll wait and see. Now, the other thing you have to consider is some United States Supreme Court case law. And it emphasized that a defendant obviously has a constitutional right to present a complete defense. And the Idaho Supreme Court has also reiterated that evidence of another suspect's involvement must be supported by facts that establish this direct link to the crime, not just somebody that may have a motive or may have had an opportunity to do so. You must show they actually did it. That's why I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And finally, the defense must provide concrete evidence, such as physical evidence, perhaps that's the glove at the scene, perhaps some blood, witness testimony, or other factual connections linking the alternate suspect to the crime. For example, in the Koberger case, right, the defense has indicated it is pursuing a lead on an alternate suspect based upon discovery materials, which they are working to substantiate. Once again, if it is vague, remote, or speculative, it is going to be excluded. How does this fit in then to the defense case for Brian Koberger? Well, his attorneys have filed motions to admit an alternate suspect evidence, including the theory that two individuals may have committed the crime with two weapons supported by an expert witness. They have also referenced a specific tip about an alternate suspect uncovered in materials provided into discovery. And so how's that going to work? Like I said, the defense has to convince Judge Hippler that probable cause exists that an alternate suspect could have committed the murders. This could be the male DNA, unidentified male DNA at the crime scene, witness statements, or other direct connections to the crime. Now, Judge Hippler had set a deadline of this past Wednesday for the defense to present this alternate suspect evidence, indicating that waiting until trial would simply be too late and what could cause potential delay. And like I said, you have to have that pretrial hearing. So the prosecution may argue that the defense's evidence is completely speculative and lacks direct...
Which they will. They're going to argue that it's completely speculative. We know
connection to the crime, especially if the tip or expert testimony does not sufficiently link the suspect to the quadruple homicide.
Yeah, unless you have a sheath or the weapon, right?
Obviously, the presence of Koberger's DNA on the knife sheath at the crime scene strengthens the prosecution's case and may make it harder for the defense to establish probable cause. So, got that probable cause threshold. It's going to be challenging for the defense. It's not ridiculously high standard, but one that you really have to meet. Anyway,
the probable cause. So let's go back to, let me bring this up too. Let's go back to the probable cause, right? Let's go back to the probable cause. Let's go back to March 2023 when Jay Logston and Batanti had their affidavit where Bethany has exculpatory evidence. Well, I was asking back then, what could that exculpatory evidence where she has her own experience on her own? Between the roommates and her, it says specifically Bethany has her own experience just to her. That is exculpatory to Brian Koberger. What? So my brain back then, what could that be? What could that be? What could that be? It means that Bethany saw a female. Because you can't say, well, they had brown hair. I don't know. It's too damn dark. Well, they were 6 foot. Well, you can argue they were 6'5". Wearing black. Okay, well, how do you know if it's a male or... But how you know if it's a male or a female is the person that you saw leaving the scene, you saw the long hair. How would that be different than any other roommate's experience? Well, the other roommate saw a guy. So if the other roommate saw a guy and Bethany didn't see a guy, Bethany saw a female. Bethany saw a female because she could tell long hair from short hair in the pitch damn black in Idaho as she's looking out her window. That's where an alternate suspect can come from. Probable cause? Wouldn't it be probable cause? Wouldn't it be enough probable cause if there was a statement from Bethany stating that she saw a female leaving the crime scene? Is that not enough probable cause to say that there's an alternate suspect? Yeah. And great point, Aurora. Not as intoxicated as Dylan. Not as intoxicated. That's the only way. That's from March 2023. I'm like, how in the hell could it be her own experience that exonerates the dude? How can you say, yeah, it wasn't Brian Koberger, it was a guy that had different shoe size? I mean, well, how do you know it was Brian Koberger or not? I don't know. It's too dark. The only way you can tell is if it was a female. She had long hair. She had long hair. I saw the ponytail coming out the back of her mask. Saw the ponytail coming out the back of her mask. Girls have bushy eyebrows too. That's the only way it could be exculpatory. So when it comes to this alternate suspect, people want to be like, oh, give me a break. Give me a break. Where's it? Listen, when you break it down and you think about why they wanted to interview Bethany so much in the very beginning of the case. They wanted to interview Bethany so bad. Why? Because Bethany's statement was something that was completely different than what Dylan said. Did we even see a statement from Bethany other than that she said that she saw Ethan and Xana coming home at 1:45? And now that we know with these other documents that have come out that wasn't even true. Now that we know that the girls were all hanging up in Maddie's room and Ethan and Xana weren't back yet after 2:00. What Bethany's statement in Exhibit A, Brett Payne, doesn't make sense anymore because she was stating that the people came home and Ethan and Xana came home at 1:45 a.m. when they didn't. Why do you think Ethan and Xana's whereabouts have always been, from the very beginning? How come we know the whereabouts of all the other students, but we don't know exactly where Ethan and Xana were at? I mean, think of all the different pizza and all these other different theories and speculations, right? Stories have been created because we never truly knew Ethan and Xana's whereabouts. Why? Why was the statement that from Bethany that was used, it wasn't something else that was her own experience that would exonerate Koberger? It wasn't that statement. It was the statement that you said Ethan and Xana were home at 1:45, and we know that's not true anymore. So why the only statement from Bethany is the statement about Ethan and Xana that's not true when she was the one that was there the whole time as well? What other experience would Bethany have? Think about it. What other experience would Bethany have than it being a female? Watching out her window, she heard noise too. Remember I told you the person walked around the front, came up to the side? The most cover that wouldn't be caught on anybody's camera, even 1126. They walk right in front of Bethany's window. Why would Bethany look out the window? Oh, probably because it's the same noise that happened on 1112 audio. The thump and the whimper. You know what that was? Somebody jumping down from that little mini roof. The thump was them hitting the gravel parking lot right outside the basement front door. And then that's when they went, whoof, because they had to exhale air when they hit the ground. That's what would make Bethany look out her damn window. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Peek out the window, you see the person walking by your freaking window as they're walking around the side of the house that has no windows, that has cover, and then they skipped out of there. No, it's not, Heather. From the witnesses, they were Caucasian. So alternate suspects, yeah. Bethany Funk's exculpatory evidence could be that probable cause, because remember, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, guess what? If you have a witness statement that is saying that they saw a female, that's more than a ham sandwich, right? To like say that there's another suspect. I mean, that's pretty damn easy. So we'll see what they have. All right, this is more talk. And I just had to throw that photo up there because when it comes to another alternate suspect, yeah, you know how I feel. Bushy eyebrows, nightlight, that exact mask, you know. All right, let's go through this. This is some more videos discussing the delay, and then we're going to listen to Keith Morrison, and we're going to listen to Howard Bloom tell you in their own words everything that they know. So here's some more Brian Enton, and then we're going to have Angelette Levy discussing after this too. And contribution call out real quick, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for the Euro 10 super sticker and the hippo and the gaming chair that's going fast and it's on fire. Thank you so much. I appreciate your contribution. And anybody that did give me one again today, I'm going to throw this up again for you. Thank you so much, because it really means everything. And it allows us to be here as much as we can. All right, we're going to get into this News Nation little clip. Then we're going to check out this Dateline one. Yeah, you're going to hear it from Keith and Howard. And Howard's starting to backtrack now. He was on Surviving the Survivor show yesterday. He's backtracking now. He knows what oh, shit, that was a hot potato. I got too damn close. I touched it. They saw me touch it. Hopefully I can... Yeah. Howard Bloom's backtracking now.
News Nation's senior national correspondent Brian Enton
Thank you all for
has
being
been
here.
on this case from day one and was in that courtroom today, and he's with me now live. Brian, I shudder. I absolutely shudder at the thought that journalism may be a reason that evidence that is so compelling could be pulled from a trial. Was there any discussion about that today?
No, and it's hard to imagine that they would just pull the evidence. I think it's going to make jury selection harder because you've got a lot of people who saw the Dateline episode or have now seen all that evidence that wasn't supposed to be made public. But you made a good point. I mean, Judge Hippler was angry. It was obvious when I was inside the courtroom. He talked about the possibility of a special prosecutor. That is someone to come in and investigate and possibly prosecute and charge someone who's responsible for the leaks. But he didn't bring up Dateline in the courtroom. He didn't say the words Dateline. What happened is after court, suddenly there was a new filing that popped up almost immediately, and it was from the judge. And that's where he addressed the Dateline issue and said, this Dateline episode aired, there was a big leak. And then he started to name all the different agencies and all of the evidence and how he wanted all of that to be preserved, text messages between police officers, phone calls, so that they can get to the bottom of where the leak came from.
Yeah, for me, again, this is another reason that gag orders are not a good idea. I get why. I just think that they're really fast and loose with gag orders nowadays. I feel like I heard something about Judge Hippler adding 2 more alternate jurors, like worried that, you know, it's going to get so bad that they're going to have to boot jurors left and right.
Yeah, and he seemed to blame that on Dateline in court. Again, he didn't say Dateline, but he said something like, because of what happened last Friday, I think we need to add 2 more alternate jurors. So he is clearly peeved about this Dateline episode. They've been so careful with this gag order and all of these secret hearings. The fact that all of this got out, I mean, a lot of information and visuals, he seems like he wants to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, let's talk about the alternate suspect theory. I have been fascinated by the defense and the suggestion that somebody else must have committed these killings. You can't just come into court and start throwing names out there. I mean, innocent people could be caught up in your effort to clear your guy, right? So where are we with that? And also, is it alternate suspect or alternate suspects, plural?
So I'm told that it's I keep forgetting. I keep having a hard time saying it. Alternate suspects, plural. Alternate suspects. A hard time saying alternate. Instead of just one person. But it's been sealed. But the motion has been sealed. It was filed yesterday. The judge today said he's keeping it secret for good reason, like you said. I mean, you know, they started throwing these names around. The only person who's been charged is Brian Kohberger. But the judge was clear that he wants to see evidence rather than allegations, almost making it sound like the filing from the defense wasn't really beefy enough. Listen to what he said in court, Ashley.
1, provide me with whatever actual evidence you have that supports those allegations, rather than just allegations. And 2, provide for me how it is you believe that what you are offering is admissible.
So alternative perpetrators, that's what he's talking about. I was actually able to say at that time. And so basically now he's told the defense, you need to beef up your motion. We're going to have a hearing about it in June. It'll probably obviously be in secret. And they'll kind of go from there.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone.
An Idaho judge is demanding answers after information in the Brian Kohberger quadruple murder trial was leaked, saying a gag order was likely violated after sensitive information aired on NBC's Dateline. The episode included surveillance footage of Kohberger's phone records and information connected to his Amazon account. So let's bring in Anjanette Levy, correspondent and host for the Law and Crime Network. Anjanette, great to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us. So this leak situation in the Kohberger trial is kind of amazing. As I try to wonder who has the motive to leak it, I can't really suss it all out. Can you sort of break it down for us?
Well, good morning, Charlie, and thanks so much for having me. Really, I think that the judge, if you read his order to both sides, he issued orders to both the prosecution and the defense to preserve all communications and to provide a list of all of the people who had access to these materials. he thinks possibly the motive is on the law enforcement side. He told the prosecutor he has 7 days to present him with a plan on how he is going to prevent future leaks of information or future violations of the non-dissemination order. We call it a gag order. So he didn't say the same thing to the defense. And I interviewed an attorney yesterday who's handled death penalty cases, and he's also represented just judges. And he said clearly the motive to do this would be on the prosecution side, on the law enforcement side. That doesn't mean somebody on the defense side couldn't have leaked the information, but clearly the motive would be on the law enforcement side.
So the fact that the judge is asking for all of these details, does that kind of tell you that he's looking to not only staunch the leaks, but also maybe punish the leakers?
Yes, he's made it clear he wants to punish the leakers. He wants a special prosecutor appointed to investigate this. He made that very clear in court the other day. He told the prosecutor of Latah County, the lead prosecutor on this case, I will be looking for a request from you to appoint a special prosecutor who can then launch some sort of inquiry where a magistrate can, issue subpoenas, call witnesses, grant immunity. So he's taking this very seriously. Judge Hippler, Stephen Hippler, is the new judge on this case. This case was moved to Ada County because of the massive amount of publicity in this case. And so that's the remedy that was provided in this case, moving the trial to a bigger county, delaying the trial so the publicity would fade. And now, weeks ahead of jury selection, they've had this massive leak. So the judge said he believes that the leaker or leakers need to be, their identities need to be determined and they need to be punished.
Yep.
Right. Good stuff. I want to change topics here and ask you about the judge in the Karen Reed case who recently ruled against the defense.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end this part. Okay. So a lot of this stuff about the leaks, it's a bunch of bull crap. You got different professionals discussing it. So these streams about, how dare they ask for a continuance and all this, just know what you're talking about or shut the hell up. Because it's not too hard to figure out the legal aspect of how it all, the damage that can happen from this. And if you're going to sit there and question that why wouldn't the defense do it when this stuff happened? Give me an effing break. I swear to God, if some of these people had family members or somebody they knew, or maybe it was even themselves that were in this kind of situation, it's amazing the different kind of song they'd be singing. My Lord. Now, I'm going to switch to, we're going to hear a little snippet of Howard Bloom. This was that tell-all, okay? This was the tell-all. And in the very beginning, remember I told you guys, he pretty much was telling everybody, like, how much he knew. When we went through this episode, and it's like, whoa, he's just right off the bat, already telling you what the hell he already knew. Now, I'm going to play this little clip from you. Then we're going to listen to everything that Keith Morrison is going to tell you. Okay? We're going to listen to Keith Morrison. We're going to hear everything Keith Morrison is saying. Then we're going to let you hear Howard Bloom kind of back off a little bit from it. So this was the tell-all episode over there on Drunk Turkey Show. There's the link for the show. Go sub up, leave a heartfelt comment in the comment section, hit the like for that interview. This Howard Bloom's going to tell you right off the bat. Right off the bat.
Everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Daniel, and today we got a great show for you guys. As you guys have probably taken notice that there was a documentary that went down not too long ago by Dateline, and a well-known guest, a guest on our show, Howard Bloom, was Pretty prevalent on that docu-series. Welcome to the show, Howard Bloom. Howard, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. It was. I hope you had a great weekend and celebrated Mother's Day and with your family and stuff. And was the premiere of the Dateline episode the first time you saw it in its entirety, or did you get a chance to see it before?
First time I saw it in its entirety, I was really impressed. I got to say that the show is a tribute to Shane Bishop. He's the producer.
Oh, he already calls out Shane Bishop. Already calling out Shane Bishop. Shout out. Shout out. Shane Bishop, you need to show your ass in front of the judge, bro.
First time I saw it in its entirety, I was really impressed. I got to say that the show is a tribute to Shane Bishop. He's the producer who put it all together, did a lot of the original research.
Did a lot of the original research. Remember when I told you guys in the intro of the show, it's the same law enforcement person that's going around telling everybody this, and this, and this, and this, and this. The stuff that we're going to hear Keith Morrison admit to here in a few moments. Their own words, ladies and gentlemen, their own words. Howard says a little more, too. The dude that was talking to the law enforcement guy from the very beginning, I told you guys that. You'll hear Keith Morrison tell you how many times from the very beginning. Shout out. Now, Bloom, boy, Bloom is now a puppet. He's a puppet now. Because you see this, you hear this. Now you hear what he says on Surviving the Survivor. Hot potato, you backtracking. Listen, you sit here and listen to what he says in this first. This is right in the beginning. You listen to what he says in the very beginning of this. And he tells you everything that you need to know where he is on that totem pole. He's not very high on that totem pole. Because there was stuff from Dateline that he learned, and you'll hear it in a second. There's stuff from Dateline that Howard didn't even know, and he was like, I'm just glad I didn't spill any of the secrets.
Pretty prevalent on that docu-series. Welcome to the show, Howard Bloom. Howard, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. It was. I hope you had a great weekend and celebrated Mother's Day and with your family and stuff. And was the premiere of the Dateline episode the first time you saw it in its entirety, or did you get a chance to see it before?
First time I saw it in its entirety, I was really impressed. I got to say that the show is a tribute to Shane Bishop. He's the producer who put it all together, did a lot of the original research. He's an intrepid reporter and a world-class producer. And Keith is a wonderful, wonderful interviewer. I mean, it was just a pleasure working with them.
That is amazing. It came off very well. I thought it was well put together. The information, the timeline in which the information was put out, I thought it was put excellent. And I had no idea you were on there. I was quite surprised. You kept it a secret to the world. How hard was that?
Well, you're sitting on top of information, and and you're working with people, and you want to protect it for them. I was so afraid that I would give away some of the secrets that were in the piece, and I pledged not to. So I was doing my best to keep that, so I could.
Yeah, so he could shake his little tail feather.
Just talk about my favorite thing myself, but keep away from all the exclusives that they had unearthed.
So he didn't even know what Dateline knew. He didn't even say, he was just on DTS shortly before this. He didn't even mention to DTS that he was working with Dateline. He says right here, I didn't want to spill any of the secrets. Okay, now that's just a little clip that I wanted to show you from Howard Bloom. Now that we know where Howard Bloom is on the totem pole, and I'm just sharing it, he did shake his tail feather. Watch. He does it a whole bunch in this interview, but You can see him. Watch. He does a little giggle and shakes his tail feather.
Before we get into the Dateline, there was a little bit of controversy. You had an airmail article that came out talking about Brian Koberger's potential motive, and you talked a little bit about Dr. Ramsland. First and foremost, what are your thoughts on Brian Koberger? Well, on the entire situation. The floor is yours. I'll let you take over. I think nobody can explain it better than yourself.
Well, I did an article for Airmail, which was, as you said, it was a theory. This was my theory.
Shit. Hold on.
I got to say that the show is a tribute to...
Pretty prevalent on that docuseries. Welcome to the show, Howard Bloom. Howard, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
For some reason, it skipped way ahead than what it was supposed to be, but you'll see what I mean.
Thank you for having me back.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. It was I hope you had a great weekend and celebrated Mother's Day and with your family and stuff. And was the premiere of the Dateline episode the first time you saw it in its entirety, or did you get a chance to see it before?
First time I saw it in its entirety, I was really impressed. I got to say that the show is a tribute to Shane Bishop. He's the producer who put it all together, did a lot of the original research. He's an intrepid reporter and a world-class producer. And Keith is a wonderful, wonderful interviewer. I mean, it was just a pleasure working with them.
That is amazing. It came off very well. I thought it was well put together. The information, the timeline in which the information was put out, I thought it was put excellent. And I had no idea you were on there. I was quite surprised. You kept it a secret to the world. How hard was that?
Well, you're sitting on top of information, and and you're working with people, and you want to protect it for them. I was so afraid that I would give away some of the secrets that were in the piece, and I pledged not to. So I was doing my best to keep that, so I could just talk about my favorite thing myself, but keep away from all the exclusive.
Books. Oh my gosh. All right, so now we're going to switch to Mr. Morrison, okay? Now, you already know Mr. Morrison has a special way with words. So don't get caught off guard by all the little special ways that he speaks his words and such. Just listen to the key details of what he says. Now, this was when he had an interview with East Idaho News. And listen, this was right before the Dateline, right? Right before. We actually watched this video on that episode, right before. Listen to what he says. When it comes to, what they know, how long they've been working, all the little details of the crime.
Let's talk about the show tonight, Keith. What can we expect with Dateline?
Well, this is your friend Shane Bishop and I.
Oh shit! Whoa! It just quit. Hold on a second. Oh no! Is Shane Bishop haunting us now? Damn! Keith Morrison mentions Shane Bishop, and all of a sudden the fucking shit closes out. What the hell? Shane Bishop, you naughty guy. You naughty guy. Hold on a minute. I gotta get this thing back up again. Shane Bishop, you son of a bitch.
Let's talk about the show tonight, Keith. What can we expect with Dateline?
Well, this is your friend Shane Bishop and I, but mostly Shane, has been working on this for a long time, since right back at the beginning, and has developed. Shane has a list of people who are on the inside and who are very good sources about what's happened here in Idaho. So
let's listen to that again about Mr. Shane Bishop. Like I said, his voice can make you float off into true crime fairy tales, but just listen to what he says.
A long time, since right back at the beginning.
Right.
Your friend Shane Bishop and I, but mostly Shane.
Mostly Shane.
Has been.
Whoa, wait a minute. Shane Bishop knew more than Howard Bloom, too? Whoa, Shane Bishop, the holder of the key. Your ass better go answer to Judge Hippler, bro. Your ass better go answer to Judge Hippler, bro. Mostly Shane. Yes, that's why we're doing this. I had to pour out my heart first. I told you we would get to their own words. That's what it's about. We're just letting them talk.
And I, but mostly Shane.
Mostly Shane.
Has been working on this for a long time, since right back at the beginning.
Right back at the beginning.
And has developed, Shane has a list of people who are on the inside and who are very good sources about what.
Shane developed a list. Hold on a minute. Was there more than one? Was there more than one link, Keith Morrison? Shane had a list. Listen to the list of people.
And has developed, Shane has a list of people who are on the inside and who are very good sources about what's happened here in Idaho.
A list of people that are on the inside. Wow. Shane. Oh, it ain't going to take very long.
So we're familiar with a good deal of the evidence that the state will bring against Brian Koberger.
And they're very familiar with the evidence that the state is bringing against Brian Koberger.
Evidence that the state will bring against Brian Koberger. His attorney is not speaking yet, but we have, a lot of this material that the prosecution will rely on, I think, to try him. I don't.
A lot of the evidence that the prosecution is going to. Keith, keep talking, bro. Keep talking, Keith.
Rely on, I think, to try him. I don't know. I don't know. We can't say that we have it all, but we have a lot of it. And we can almost have a timeline of his movements and the movements of the killer, whether it was him or not, in the days, hours, minutes leading up to the murder and afterwards.
So he's telling you right there they even have more information, because he didn't say, well, we got all the movements and everything of Brian Koberger. He just said, or of whoever. So he is telling you right there, they have even more evidence that they were told when it comes to the evidence that he just told you is crucial for the prosecution. He's telling you that there's evidence that he has seen that doesn't even have Koberger's name on it. Understand. That doesn't even have Koberger's name on it. He is telling you that they have evidence and have seen it. Listen to it again. Oh, this interview is so damning, Keith Morrison.
Almost have a timeline of his movements and the movements of the killer, whether it was him or not, in the days, hours, minutes leading up to the murder and afterwards.
You also have a couple of interviews from people that we haven't heard from before.
Dang it, did it skip ahead to YouTube? Fix your shit, man.
I think try him. I don't know. I don't know. We can't say that we have it all, but we have a lot of it. And we can almost have a timeline of his movements and the movements of the killer, whether it was him or not.
Whether it was him or not, they have evidence. what the hell else do they have? And if we thought they put everything out on that Dateline episode, hell no. What other evidence was also leaked? This is way bigger. This is way bigger than I think anybody even thought up until this moment. Seriously.
In the days, hours, minutes leading up to the murder and afterwards.
You also have a couple of interviews from people that we haven't heard from before.
We have. I mean, we've heard from some of the people who met Brian Koberger early on, as soon as he moved to Pullman, Washington. And he went to a pool party, for example, and there was an incident at the pool party which was just kind of strange and unsettling for the people who were there. He worried a couple of the women who were by the pool wearing bikinis, and he was just a little leering. I think they tried to brush him off.
Suggestive stuff if you watch the Dateline episode.
One of them tried to get her husband involved, but
shout out Kevin Fixler. He was on Courtroom Confidential and even reiterated that same thing I just said. It's suggestive, people.
He just seemed not to be aware of social cues. So there was that, and then one of the other people there then ran into him later on a hike, and was puzzled by the fact that he was walking alone into the night when everybody else was getting out of this area that they were hiking in because it was nighttime. And then,
well, if you go to see stars, you usually wait until it's nighttime. I don't know. It's just a crazy theory is what Howard Bloom refers to his information now after he got called out for the damaging stuff he put out about Catherine Ramsland.
And we discover, of course, that he was somebody who...
But you're not supposed to call him a liar. You're not supposed to call him a liar.
Loved the nighttime, was out at night all the time.
Interesting.
Walking around, looking around.
Right. Well, that was I think one of the points his defense attorneys made early on, that he was out driving looking at the stars at night, the night of the murders.
Yes, and there, and that might be an answer that satisfies. I don't know, but you have to have some comeback to the fact that it's glaringly obvious that he spent a great deal of time alone in the dark during his time there.
Tell me about this video.
All right, let me explain something to you. That time of year, it gets dark at 4:00 in the afternoon. It literally gets dark at 4:00 in the afternoon. He spent a considerable amount of time outside. Let me do the lean back like Morrison. They spent a lot of time outside, even though it got dark at 4:00 in the afternoon that time of year. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was there during the time of the year that the crime took place. My Lord. These people don't... you can tell they don't do their own homework. Seriously. How you can sit there like this and talk about how he spent a considerable amount of time outside when if you really fucking knew, you knew it got dark at 4 in the afternoon. So that is an idiotic fucking statement. And it shows that you're basing it off of no knowledge, because if you knew that it got dark at 4 in the afternoon around that time, then you would know that the statement that you just made was idiotic. These people, I swear to God, it's more than just Coffin Daffer with the intern files. It's damn near, I mean, it's even spread over to social media over here in the YouTube world too. It's even done spread over there. You know, we used to all bitch about mainstream media and how they did this clickbait shit, right? And now look at it. When we all stood up against it and we all became the more popular news channel than your local cable TV, your local TV stations even. And now look what's happened. That same shit that we all together on YouTube stood up against when it come to fair journalism and reporting the facts. Now all of a sudden that shit's kind of leaked into YouTube now, and you got all these other damn shows too. The fact that there's, how are you supposed to listen to anybody? How are you supposed to listen to anybody that's reporting this shit anymore? When you can't even, you already know that they're just going off their damn notes from their interns. Come on, Keith Morrison. Of course somebody's going to spend most of their time in the damn dark, dude. It's fucking dark at 4 o'clock. Lean back. Lean back. Dude. It's going to be so dangerous in 10 years because the fucking the sheep that are just jumping off like in nobody even look when the people that you're expecting to give you news, this is what they offer. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. It's dangerous now. Because if they're not doing their fact checking, you know what I'm saying? If they're not doing their fact checking, then who else is going to do it? For real. If they're not doing it, who else is going to do it? These are the people that everybody watch and go, oh my gosh, did you just hear the latest? Did you just hear the latest? Look at all the shit, like all the shows that Bloom. All the shows that Bloom frickin' started with the whole Ramsland stuff. You know what I mean? And then you got people that are just going, oh, there's cotton balls at the bottom of the cliff? We got cotton balls down there? Oh, cool. Cool, I can't wait.
That of a car that may have been his or a car that looked similar to his that you all have obtained?
Well, it's a car that the authorities believe was his, the white Elantra that we've heard so much about. You see the video. It's really quite remarkable video. It shows the period leading up to the murders, just before this car kind of approaches. And by the way, the camera is on a neighboring house. You can't quite see 1122 from this house, but you can see the movements of the car as it's heading down into this kind of controlled area where 1122 is.
Yeah,
and it's going around and around. And every 3 minutes or so, the car will kind of come around and go away again, and then come back and then go away again, as if somebody is, casing the house or is trying to make up his mind about something. Certainly the authorities believe it was the killer. They are accusing Brian Koberger of being that person. But then what we see is the car pulls in to what would have to be 1122 King Road and disappears like it's parked. 13 minutes later, it reappears going hell-bent for leather around the corner and out of sight and isn't seen again. So the authorities are pretty convinced that this is a video of the killer in his car making up his mind. The 13 minutes where the car is not visible to the camera is when the murders are occurring, and then afterwards you see the car drive away.
And we're going to see that tonight.
We will see it. Yes.
Wow. What's been the biggest thing that stuck out to you, Keith, as you've been preparing this episode versus previous reporting, which we've heard, and this story has been highly covered across the spectrum, but what's been your biggest takeaway or insight?
Well, that video is pretty extraordinary, and it tells you a lot. It also weighs pretty heavily as a piece of evidence, I think. A good deal of the evidence is circumstantial. There is the DNA on the knife sheath, but also a slight problem with that in that the FBI broke its own rules in order to be able to test that DNA with a familial DNA site that normally is not available to them. You have to sign a form saying you're okay with law.
See, now, just like you've heard on all these other shows, yeah, they're telling you they skated it. That's why they didn't save any of their homework. Why didn't you save any of your homework? Because you knew that you didn't do it properly anyway. So why are we going to save it? Everybody's saying, I mean, it's no secret anymore. They scapegoated the shit. That's why they didn't save it. Why would you save documentation of something you weren't supposed to do? I mean, that it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Enforcement looking into your DNA profile if you want to be on one of these sites. But the FBI went to a site where people do not sign that waiver. And it's a bigger site. They have, that gives them the opportunity to whittle down who the person would be that they're looking for. And it succeeded, but they're supposedly prevented by their own regulations from entering that website. Nevertheless, they did. So
yeah,
we'll be able to use that too. But,
right, the defense has made some filings about that and whether they legally got it or obtained it. Another thing the defense has said recently is talking about Brian Kohberger's autism diagnosis and his mental capabilities as far as one reason why they wanted to strike the death penalty off the table. Do you get much into his mental state of mind or potential,
really not much more than, I think you would be hard pressed to find a psychiatrist who's prepared to examine Kohberger over a television set or just from the limited amount we know. The defense says he has autism, and perhaps that's so, I don't know. The suggestion was that he is OCD also, and that may have explained some of his behaviors. The judge has already ruled that this doesn't really.
What's up, typically?
It's not going to impact any possibility of a death penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be such a fascinating trial to watch here in just a couple of months. I know that all eyes are going to be on Boise as this goes. It could probably the longest trial in Idaho history, they're saying.
Could be. I mean, there are lots of issues that will have to be gone into in depth. Yeah.
So reckless.
All right, Keith, tonight, Dateline.
So damn reckless. And look, he's like, yep, I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm proud. Shane Bishop. Both Howard Bloom. That's why the thumbnail is what it is. Both Howard Bloom. Keith Morrison. Judge, you want to know who you need to ask the question and where you can get your information from for your leak? Both these men told you. Shane Bishop knows. Shane Bishop knows a hell of a lot more than what he's telling y'all. Ridiculous. Here's Keith Morrison again, talking to the local TV station, KTVB.
8-year-old Brian Kohberger. And tonight, Dateline is airing a 2-hour special about the murders and the search for a suspect.
Thank you all for
Morgan
being
Romero spoke with Dateline host Keith Morrison earlier this afternoon ahead of tonight's show.
I'm joined by Keith Morrison, correspondent with Dateline. That is airing tonight right here on KTVB. Keith, thank you so much for your time this evening. We want to get right to one of the biggest things that's been talked about throughout this case. Wild speculation, false theories, misinformation spreading on social media, places like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter. How did that impact the investigation into the murders?
Well, let me start with just by saying that I've never seen a story so attract attention as this one has. This is amazing. It's everybody in the world wants to know about it, and I've talked to reporters from all over who want to be there. And there's a tremendous amount of interest in it, continuing interest, and a huge demand for information, much of which is simply not accurate. And that spreads on the internet so fast, and it, unfortunately, along the way, has kind of besmirched the reputation.
This dude is telling you this. This dude is telling you this. Now, after everything that we have just shown, and you hear the dude say this? All the suggestive stuff that you put in your episode? Sir. That studio makeup. Something's up, man. Something is up.
Tonight, right here on KTVB. Keith, thank you so much for your time this evening. We want to get right to one of the biggest things that's been talked about throughout this case. Wild speculation, false theories, misinformation spreading on social media, places like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter. How did that impact the investigation into the murders?
Well, let me start with just by saying that I've never seen a story so attract attention as this one has. This is amazing. It's everybody in the world wants to know about it, and I've talked to reporters from all over who want to be there. And there's a tremendous amount of interest in it, continuing interest, and a huge demand for information, much of which is simply not accurate. And that spreads on the internet so fast, and it, unfortunately, along the way, has kind of besmirched the reputations of several people who didn't deserve it. You know, I don't.
He's talking about Howard Bloom. Fuck yeah, Howard Bloom deserved to be called out from Dr. Catherine Ramsland. What the hell are you talking about? Yes, after everything that we've just shown, and this is what you see Keith Morrison say now, after this whole episode, and I broke all this down for you. Isn't it crazy? Contribution call out. Member for 23 months. I know it's longer than that. Kip Kitty, thank you so much. To think the social media did bad. That's what you're exactly right. We're all MSM scapegoats. Exactly. What is this in chat? What's up, Snow? What is it in chat where you got crowns and number 2 and number 3? What is that? What is that, the YouTube chat? Caddy and Busby have a number 2 and a number 3. What is that? And Mishy Girl has a number 1. What does that mean, you guys? You guys see that? I'm seeing like a little purple thing on chat. And it's got a crown with one. Is that like the top chatter? Oh, so it gives you a crown. Ain't that cool? It gives you a crown. Yeah, it gives you a crown with the top chatter. So there's a 3-person race between Mishy Girl Buzz. I wonder if that's my Nightbot or if that's because my Nightbot has those analytics. My Nightbot has those analytics, but I've never seen it on YouTube. So, oh, hold on. Community leaderboard and XP. So by sending live chats, super chats, and super stickers, it gives you the rank. Whoa, shit, hold on. Hold on 1 second. Oh, holy shit. I don't know. I'm just learning. Hey, Busby, I'm learning it like you are right now, all right? I've been noticing it for a while. I'm like, what the hell is these crowns? And we took a break, and so I thought I would ask you guys what the hell it is, because I don't know. I rushed to get on a show. Moto Man with the gifted 20 memberships. Thank you so much. Moto Man says, I win. Dang, thank you so much. Again, contribution call out. We're not really traveling. We're in that part of the year where we're not traveling that much, and so really the memberships, the contributions really do help, because then then I don't have to do other stuff to make up for that. So thank you so much, really. Unfortunately, that's why I'm not on very much recently, is just because we're in that down part. So thank you so much. And then here's a link. Rosie is co-authoring. We're having a book, and I kind of let a little snippet. You know what I'm going to do? When I end the show today, so I'll be ending it here in a little bit. I actually did like a little mini read through at the lounge, just a very small part of it. It was out of the blue. I wasn't even planning it. And Nina was the only one that was in the lounge channel watching. I can't even remember what I was playing. I was playing some video game or something, or checking something out. Body cam thing, something. And then I'm like, you know what? We started getting to talk about this book that's going to be coming out in the beginning of next year. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give you a little snippet, a mini promo of the mini promo, because here in about a month or so, I'm going to come out with like a sneak peek audio chapter, just so you guys can kind of hear how the book is going to go, how it's going to be written, what is going to be discussed. And then if you guys wanted to buy the book, I kind of wanted to give people, I didn't want people to just, try it and be like, oh man, this sucks. I want to give people just a little idea of what it's going to be like, so that way they can be like, yeah, that's something I might be interested in. Or if it's not, I'm not even going to waste the time, So I'm going to do that when we end this. I'll just play my thing that I did over at the lounge a couple nights ago for when we do that. But yeah, it's a close race. How come Moto didn't take over #1? What happened? I hope you guys like the new music too for the show. So, all right, I'm gonna let this one finish, and then we'll be ending the show here in a few. I think I'm gonna do. I have a notification that I'm about to put out. Maybe it takes time to update or something. Maybe it takes time for it to update. I don't know. Thanks, Moto. So I think that look, there's all this talk about the green Elantra. We've discussed the Dodge Dart. And so it's like I already have to look through my footage for all of it anyway. And so a lot of it's not released, hasn't been released. It's from November of 2023, a year to the date of when the crime took place. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do a members only, where we just hang out and go through the footage, all the clips or whatever, however many parts it takes. But also I wanted to include Twitch. If you're not able to be a member, on YouTube, but you do have Amazon Prime. Twitch, if you sub on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you have a free sub, and a sub on Twitch is YouTube's memberships. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can literally sub to my Twitch channel for free. And it'll be just like supporting me as a membership on YouTube. Now, the cool part about Twitch is we can do live sneak peeks, unrestricted full access on any of the episodes. You can watch the live preview that we did of the Dateline episode. We had commentary on it. I was able to play it, no problem. But also with the Amazon Prime, it's a free way to become a member of the show, because when I do my members only for YouTube, it'll be sub only for Twitch, same show. So just like as I'm streaming over on Twitch right now, this show that we're streaming right now is also streaming on Twitch. Whenever I do members only shows on YouTube, I will be doing sub only shows, same stream over there on Twitch. So if you're not able to become a member on YouTube, but you do have Amazon Prime, there is a free way for you to become a member thanks to Amazon Prime and thanks to Twitch. So I think that I was thinking about around 8 o'clock tonight, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm going to do a members only and a sub only on Twitch, where we're kind of going through the footage and looking for the green car, looking for the Dodge Dart. I not only have footage from the neighborhood itself, but I have a lot of footage going around the city too. And so maybe we might not see something in the neighborhood, but maybe we might see something as I'm roaming the streets of Moscow. Who knows? Maybe we'll even see something if we get to the point of the Pullman footage, which maybe we will. I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking about for tonight. We're going to discuss more of this topic coming up in the future, and I know that there's going to be more stuff coming out about the delay. There's going to be more stuff. It ain't going to take very long before we find out who. So what I'm going to do is there is no notifications that get sent out on Twitch, okay? The notifications that do get sent out are on YouTube. So if you do have Twitch or you have Amazon Prime and you want to do the free sub to be a sub on Twitch, to be able to watch it if you can't be a YouTube member, then just show up at like 7:30, or make sure you hit the notification on Twitch. Those notifications always work. Okay? Those ones always work on Twitch. Also on YouTube, I'm going to be putting out a link here in a few minutes. The Dodge Dart and the Green Elantra. It'll be members only for that. And then we'll just kind of start going through it. And then we'll start looking through the footage. I told you guys last week we were going to have a show coming up where we're going to be digging through that. I'm going to dig through that starting tonight. And I wanted to also mention the Amazon Prime, because I know a lot of people might not be able to have a YouTube membership, but a lot of people already have Amazon Prime. And really, thanks to Amazon that owns Twitch, you get a free sub every month. Every month. It's very easy. All right, so let me go ahead and get that set. I'm going to set it for, let me see here. I'm going to set it for, let's see here. I'm going to set it for 8 o'clock. Okay. We'll set it for 8 o'clock. And I'll have a link out right now. So what I'll do is I'll drop this link for you. And then I'm going to play the little clip of Howard Bloom talking a little bit more. So we're going to watch this full episode. I'll drop that link in a second. We're going to watch this full episode, from Surviving the Survivor coming up in a future show, because there's some other stuff that I want to play with it. So definitely go sub up, and I'll drop the link to the episode. We're just going to check out a small section of it when Howard Bloom is discussing the evidence when it comes to Dateline. And then in the meantime, while this is playing, I will drop that link if you want to come back and hang out tonight as we start to go through some of the footage. The green car, the green Elantra, and the Dodge Dart. We're going to be going through all of it, though. Not just neighborhood. We're going through all of the footage.
I guess when you watched that episode, you were part of that episode. What struck you the most in terms of hard evidence that could really incriminate him?
Well,
all of it.
You use I believe, the correct word, hard evidence. Everything that you've seen and that you've mentioned to me seems pretty circumstantial. The right lawyer, if Ann Taylor is the right lawyer, could twist it the right way. And all those footages of the white Hyundai Elantra, well, there's not one shot of a license plate. There's not one shot of who is behind the wheel. You have all those cell phone verifications putting him, I think, within 100 meters, it said, of the residence.
100 feet, 100 feet.
100 feet. That's a large area in a small place like a town like Moscow. There's nothing that's ever proven that he's ever gone into the house. There's a knife sheath there, but there's no evidence that he was ever in there. So again, it's all pretty circumstantial. And when we talked about the alternate perpetrators before, what I think made the case also easier for Ann Taylor is that the state, once they had this tip from the government, which they got from IGG, even though that won't be mentioned in the trial, once they had this tip, they really didn't look at other potential killers. They sort of gave up. I think they would have been much more helpful for their case if they said, we did this exhaustive investigation, we looked high and low, far and near, and we couldn't find anyone, and everything therefore fits against this one person we built this case around. But they're not going to be able to say that, I don't think, in the courtroom, and that too is going to raise doubts. So I think, while I believe that Kohberger is very much guilty, I don't think the state, as at least this far into the motions and hearings and evidence that's presented, has done the best job of putting the best possible case they could have against him.
Yeah. Greg Skordas, back to you. And again, not to put you on the spot like I did with Megan. So this sealed surveillance footage, everything we just talked about, the pings, the video of the Elantra. If this was your case and you were representing Bryan Kohberger and now all of this stuff is out for public consumption, how would you handle this? I mean, you're a guy that's been doing this for 40 years.
Yeah, to me, it's out. It's there. You've just got to eat it. Move forward. Go do your case. Go try your case. I mean, chasing somebody who leaked some information is not going to do you any good. Trying to tell a judge and the people of the state of Idaho this is going to taint you is not going to do any good. It's going to do just the opposite, bringing attention to something you don't want attention brought to. Just move on. Go try your case. Take the best case you have. I mean, obviously, she has every reason to be upset with whoever leaked this information. That was a wrong thing to do. That was an immoral thing to do, if you will. And somebody did for whatever reason they did.
Immoral.
But if you're a good defense attorney, you know what? I want to try my case. I want to get in front of 12 jurors who are going to be fair, who are not going to take that into account, who are not going to make a decision based on something they saw on Dateline of all things, and be fair and make a conscious decision. So to me, I wouldn't bring attention to it. I wouldn't bring motions that are apparently being considered, this 40-some page motion. I'd say, let's go try the case.
But everything you're saying is contingent upon the defense attorney having a good case. What if the defense attorney knows in their hearts they don't have a good case? So then they have to file 40-page motions.
Greg?
What do you do then? Have you ever been in a case when you realize oh my gosh, I've got nothing. What do I do? How do I do the best for my client who I have to defend?
Or what about the other side too, right?
Every day, Howard.
What do
Every
I do?
day I have
What
a
do I do?
case. That is
Well, then I'm going to hire you.
Why am I doing this?
What do
And
I
you
do?
try the hell out of it. You create doubt. You put the state to its burden. You make sure that they
Exactly.
do everything they're supposed to do.
And that's
you
what
make
I
sure
believe she's
that they're
doing.
fair. And if they did something wrong, you bring it to the judge's attention. If the police acted inappropriately, you bring it to the judge's attention. If there's some doubt, if you can create doubt in the minds of the juries, you do that too. But I mean, pre-trial publicity and statements that are made on network TV, that's out of the bag. That's just something you have to move on.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I appreciate the contribution.
Greg, one more thing. La Mesa Filipino Food Club, who is from Toronto and a longtime STS nationer, she's asking, when the trial comes to fruition, are we expected to see sort of dueling forensic psychologists? One person for the government saying this is indicative of X, Y, and Z, and then someone for the defense saying no, this is not what that is.
Absolutely, especially when we've been seeing a lot of statements under here about the knife sheath and what was found on it. Is there DNA, their fingerprints, or the things like that? Yeah, the defense absolutely has to hammer that. They absolutely have to look at other alternative theories for why it's there, what was there, or what's found on it. And a jury might go, well, you know what, given the tremendous amount of information we hear on these and watch on these CSI shows, it's almost become unfair, Joel, because we jurors expect that you're going to have this smoking gun, this 1 in a billion DNA sample or something like that, and it really puts the state at a disadvantage.
Well, you
should.
Yeah,
you can get your own experts up there to say, you know what?
Well, you should.
The way this evidence was handled was a little bit wrong. The way that lab did it wasn't quite right, and I disagree with their.
What the hell? And thank you again, Jacqueline. What the hell? You're talking about a death penalty case, bro? Are we for real?
Their hypothesis, their theory, their finding. That's something the defense has to do, and that's something that they absolutely will do in this case, in my opinion.
What?
Yeah, this is an interesting comment to me because I see these selfies and I have to admit, he doesn't look innocent in them. But selfies don't prove anything, no matter how creepy they are. Megan, I'm coming to you.
Can I ask a question?
Please,
Greg?
Howard. Yeah.
Could they be just arguing now for the appeal? Is everything?
Can I ask a question? Did the people that went to church with BTK, did they think that his picture was creepy? I'm just asking. Well, thank you, Mr. Number One in chat right now. Busby says, yes, you may. Did people that went to church with BTK, all the creepy pictures that were like, damn, he looks creepy, standing there in front of the altar with his daughter and his wife. Yeah, they look creepy after you know what the dude. But you're talking about, well, I mean, he did look okay. This is crazy.
Everything they're doing is to lay pipe, so to speak, for the appeal.
Lay pipe.
Is that a legal move that a lawyer would make at this stage?
Lay pipe.
Absolutely, because you can't appeal an issue that you didn't raise. You can't bring it up on appeal for the first time. So if you think there's something going on,
trust me, we're going to go into this episode in the future too. But tonight, 8:00 tonight Central, we'll be doing some member sub on Twitch, member YouTube, going through some video and stuff.
and you want to file a motion about the trial, and then you absolutely have to do that, because if you don't and you lose and you say, well, the jury was tainted, and they say, well, why didn't you mention that before? You don't get to raise it on appeal. So yes, that's a very good point, Howard.
And do you think the trial will be delayed? I can't see it being delayed, but I'm a layman. What do you think?
I think you ask me a lot of questions and you argue with everything I say so far.
Well, I want to learn.
I like you, and now I got to read your damn book. I think that I think this judge wants to make sure it's fair. I don't think this alone is going to cause a continuance. I mean, we're still a couple months away. I don't see it being bumped. If the trial was next Thursday, maybe bump it a week or two or a month or something like that. But there's nothing that's happened.
Dude, there's way more information. Where's me at? What the hell is going on with StreamYard? What the hell? My camera's not showing up. Hold on. What the hell? Something's happening. Something's weird. How do you get on Twitch? Here's the link to Twitch. And like I said, sub on Twitch is like a membership on YouTube. I'll be streaming to both platforms, the members only on YouTube, the sub only on Twitch, as we're going through this footage. That whole camera thing distracted me, and now I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, well.
That we've heard about, that we're talking about today, that would justify a significant continuance, if any, in this trial.
Greg, as a former New Jersey.
Oh yeah, there's way more evidence that Dateline knows that's already has been violated according to the gag order. It just wasn't put out there on an episode. So to sit there and say like this is not going to get bumped back, maybe if it was Thursday, no, dude. This is way bigger than people even know right now. This is way bigger than people even know right now. This is going to blow up into something huge. Something huge. This is, we're not even talking half of it. Watch. 2/3 is what's a secret. 1/3 is what got out. We got 2/3 more that's about to be exposed.
Jersey, New Yorker, growing up in Jersey and working in New York. This is Howard's way of saying that he really likes you. This is how New Yorkers do it.
I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn. I'm questioning a source.
Yeah, New Yorkers ask a lot of questions, and they, I don't know, they seem like they're being rude, but they're not. They're actually, this guy really likes you.
Oh, I apologize if you thought
No,
it was rude.
not at all. Not at all.
I do come on the passport, Howard.
Yeah. So Judge Stephen Hippler, who is presiding over this case and who, by all accounts, is very good at what he does, he again ruled that the court's gag order was, quote unquote, likely violated, ordering a list of all individuals with access to the leaked data and leaving open the possibility of appointing a special prosecutor, which that I can translate means that he's pissed and he's looking into this. So, Megan, moving on from there.
Yeah, he's about to find a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, it's going to be starting soon here. I want to say thank you to Caddy. She dropped this link as we were doing this show, and I want to share this again. Like I said, follow Kevin Fixler on Twitter. He's going to give you the latest. Look at this. I want to share this with you guys real quick. Xana's mother, there's a fundraiser, a GoFundMe to help with the cost for travel. Now we know of all the GoFundMes that, the very well off have when it comes to this, and there's no negative about it. You know what I'm saying? That's not something. But when it comes to somebody that deserves, and we know isn't making all that fucking moolah, you know what I'm saying? Private jets and all that shit. Here's the link for that GoFundMe. So I wanted to share that real quick with you guys before we end this show. And then I'll see you guys later on, 8 o'clock tonight, Central. For the members only, I'm going to give you guys the sneak peek that I did over at the lounge the other night. Just wasn't even I'm just like, you know what? Me and Nina were already talking about books, and I was like, I was playing some game or no, I was checking out body cam episode, and then it just came to here. So here's a little sneak peek. You guys want to hang around for the end of that? There's that link. All right, this is let me see, where's that episode? Testing out StreamYard. Okay, so this is when I was testing it out a couple nights ago. Here's the link if you want to check it out later on. And then also, I have a new channel. I'm going to be done streaming at the lounge here soon. We got hit too many times. Got hit too many times over at the lounge. So this is where in the future I'm going to be starting to do all of my lounge stuff over here at EvilleCJ TV. So go sub up if you're not subbed up to that channel. And then here is the link. I was doing some testing out on here, and here's me kind of, like I said, it's the promotional sneak peek that I'm going to give you guys here in about a month is actually going to be an audio portion that is probably going to last about an hour to 2 hours. So this is like a mini sneak peek to the mini sneak peek that's coming out later. This is just literally just a few paragraphs when I could have just kept going and going and going, but I'm saving that for when I give you guys that Audible episode coming out here shortly. It'll be members only first. It'll be up there for about a month or so, and then we'll have it come out for everybody to check out. Like I said, the book won't even be coming out until the beginning of the new year. So here's this little part where I was testing it out. After that, we're going to head out, close it out. Make sure you hit that link for the members only if you're a member. If you got Amazon Prime, go sub up for free over on Twitch. It works both ways. Same thing. And we'll see you later tonight. And we will be seeing you late tomorrow night. And I might even do a little bit of gaming before the show tonight. We'll see. Here's the sneak peek of the book. Love you guys. Appreciate you. I wish I could. Here, I'm going to give a teaser. Hold on. I'm going to give a teaser. Let me see. Let's do a teaser. I'm going to go ahead and put this right here, right? All right, we'll let this play. We'll let this play over the background. And this is like a mini teaser. This is a mini teaser of what's going to come out in the future when it comes to this book. And shout out Rosie, Overtime with Rosie. She's the co-author of the book, and it is a book about my experience creating my show days before the crime took place and how everything went down. Now, this isn't the beginning. This is going to pick up the day that Koberger was arrested. So this is going to be, like I said, this is just a mini promotional part that is going to come out. And what a surprise, Nina. I didn't even, hey, here we go. Hold on 1 second. I have to copy. All right, so hold on 1 second. I gotta Oh, shit. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, this is the chapter called The Call. This is when I got the call early in the morning when Brian Koberger was arrested. Now, this book is going to cover my experience from the beginning, going through the case, how it transformed me, the show, then my experience going out to Moscow and Pullman, right before the demo, the days leading up to it, the instincts. Then it's going to lead to everything after. Like I said, this is just a mini promotional part. This isn't even the book. The book is going to be many chapters. The Call. Get up, CJ. Get up. What? Huh? CJ had been safely asleep before the ringing assault of an early winter's morning phone call. It was like waking up to a tornado. They've arrested somebody for Idaho 4. Get up. Okay, I'm up. Wait a minute. What? They've arrested somebody for Idaho 4? I got it. Holy crap. Hurry up. Yeah, okay. He terminated the call and glared at the time on his insensitive phone screen, eyes still heavy from his recent and rare time asleep. 4 a.m., too damn early, he mumbled as he tossed his phone aside and rolled over in bed, embracing the vast external silence, eyes closing, mind drifting. Hold on, did she just say they've arrested somebody for Idaho 4? He was up. They've arrested somebody for Idaho 4. What? How? He wondered. As per usual, he'd be live streaming in the early morning only a few hours before and knew nothing of an arrest for Idaho 4. He retrieved his discarded phone from the nightstand and typed in his security pin to unlock the impending ending chaos that was his notification tab. Hey, bro, did you see the big news? Hi, CJ, I'm sending you stuff. This guy is so creepy. Check your email. And it went on. This was big. He opened the office door. The room was still dark and lifeless, but he could see the blank screen of the PC summoning him to his empty seat. Time to work, it said. Well, it would if it could. His office was simple but contained everything he needed. A corner desk to house his stacked notebook, a loyal PC, and an even more loyal coffee machine at a necessarily accessible distance to his workstation. However, the significance of that single room cannot easily be overemphasized. This was the room where CJ could become EvilleCJ. Where a cluttered L desk could become the whole world with the effortless click of a go live button. As it did nightly. But YouTube itself was far from effortless. It was complicated and regularly frustrating, yet there he was at 4:10 a.m. on his day off in a cold gaming chair, scrolling countless new emails about 4 dead college students. In fact, That's where he would remain for the rest of the day. Breaking news was different in the office. It was a job to do. So nothing deserved to keep him from his designated seat. Not the allure of his warm bed upstairs, not the relief of taking a few days off for his birthday, not even the fact that here he had a day job and none of this was inherently necessary. He was in the office, so he was EvilleCJ now. Seated, alert, and systematically scanning information, drinking in relevant details and leaving the rest analytics. Why, you ask? Good question. EvilleCJ was the rally point of a new and interconnected community. And he felt it. Oh, man, there's so much more in just this mini. I mean, so much more. I'm not getting... Oh, that's just a little teeny bit. Like, that is the mini of the mini. Because there's so much more I was going to read, but that's, man, there's so much. Thank you, Nina. Yeah, there's so much. This book, I can't wait.
Supervisor